Boom. Hey, folks. How are you doing? I see some people wondering if I'm going to be late. I don't think I'm too late, maybe about 30 seconds. How is everyone doing? I hope everyone's having a wonderful Monday evening, I guess. Um, it's uh, it's already been a bit of a week. so, and I hope everyone's got a nice drink to to go with things. I've got myself I for the St. Patrick's Day stream. I got myself a drink, and then I had a migraine that day, so I've still got it left over. So I've got myself a Smithwick's here. Um, we'll just crack that open. There's a bunch of stuff that I've been meaning to talk about, and then something happened, and I couldn't get around to it. That whole Paltrow trial. Um, So, yeah, I see people saying, "Hi, Runkle. Glad Monday is over." Um, yeah, Monday. Hopefully, the bad part of Monday is done. You're done work. You can come home. You can settle down. You can have a nice drink here. Heather saying, "Honestly, I'm in a bad mood tonight. I'm sorry. I hope we'll pick that up." COVID this week will be tough. Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. I've only had it the once, and I really didn't like that. Chase says, "What are we covering tonight?" Well, one thing I've been meaning to cover, and we haven't gotten around to yet, is the Afroman lawsuit. There's some other stuff on the agenda, but that was one of the things I wanted to get to, so we'll get to that. There's a few other sort of odds and ends. So we'll talk about some things there. Because there's some really interesting aspects. We'll probably also watch David Halls has been he's finished his sentencing, so he's now on his way. He's started up on his sentencing time frame here. So we'll talk about that. We'll watch that. People are saying, please play the Afroman videos. I can't. The stream will get knocked out. Please explain 3-gun. That I can do. Devin is saying, are we going to see the footage of you walking into the wall? I can't show it yet because the 3-gun group that I do things with basically asks that we sort of vet their footage with them before we post it. So I will. I got to get that done. I haven't even been able to look at it myself yet, so I'm going to have to do that fairly soon. So yeah, it should be an interesting day. I see. I need to check how bad the defense attorney's opening statement in the Stotch case. He pretended to walk out of the court or what? Okay, maybe we'll watch that too, because that'll be interesting. People are asking if I can sing the Afroman. I don't know if I can. That is that's not good. Me narrating the 11-pound. I'm getting a lot of requests I'm seeing to sing the Afroman song. That's not not great. We'll try because I guess people want to see that. All right. So yeah, I saw somebody in the comments here, and I'm also working on a video. I don't have it ready yet. I had one recorded, and then I got some new information that I want to include in it, so I'm going to re-record it. But somebody in the chat was saying something, and I'm just going to correct a little bit because what is it? I think that this is in error, and I'll just sort of mention it. And I'm not trying to call this person out. The media hasn't really made things clear as to what's going on here. So this is somebody who has probably read the news stories and has not actually been able to go through it. That's why I want to do the video footage here. But the 9-year-old's pet 4-H goat story is being misrepresented. They sold it. It was resold to a floor buyer. Then they stole it back. Mom admitted to breaking rules. And when the police found the goat, returned it to rightful owner, mother filed a ridiculous federal civil rights lawsuit. Don't be played by a plaintiff attorney trying to win sympathy. Remember Paltrow. Here's the thing. I went through the law, and I don't think that's correct. And so when I get that video done, I will put that out. I will explain all of that because, like, listen, I started looking into this one expecting to be on Team 4-H Club because I don't really, I mean, when I saw that it was like the plaintiff's attorneys on this one are a sort of an animal rights legal nonprofit, which I kind of figured I was like, really? But yeah, when I looked into it, one of the key things, and this is one thing that hasn't been reported a lot, which is that first, the contract requires that they own the goat all the way through the auction. So there's never a point where the goat was in the ownership of the fair. And the other thing that is really important is that California actually has a rule for minors, and this is very, very common. So the rule for minors is that they can back out of contracts. Almost every contract, they can just say, "Nah, we're not doing that." And there's various reasons for that and so forth. But what that means is that when the kid says, "I'm not doing this," the law is most likely on the kid's side. And I'll explain that in the video. Did I see the 4-H answer to the goat complaint? I saw one answer. I got to check and confirm that it's the 4-H answer. But it is, in my view, the one I saw was just pretty much what I expect. And what I mean by that is just it's a lot of blanket denials. So I'm just seeing if I can pull that up here. The 4-H has answered all this. Who is this? Defendants, County of Shasta. Shasta. All right. All I've got is the County of Shasta's. I don't know if there's another one here, but so that one I will check over. So there's some people. Why are some people saying that there could be criminal charges for the goat case? I'll explain that too, because I am one of those people. I actually think that there is one of I think that the people at the fair will be lucky if they don't actually get, if they don't end up facing criminal charges on it. So, yeah. And I saw your calendar video. Now I need to, now I want to make one, even though I don't need it for anything. Also, Steve Leto has a good video on this. Steve Leto has a good video on this, but I can tell you, no shade to Steve Leto. He gets some details wrong, and I don't think Leto has read the warrant. I don't think Leto has read the pleadings. I think he read the 2 articles there, which is fine, but there are a few details that he's got that are incorrect. I think that he's actually overall got the I think he's got the gist of it right, like he's got the outcomes right and so forth, but I don't, there are some places where I'm like, ooh, that's not correct. And I don't mean like this isn't a call out or anything, because he's what is it? I like his content. Like I watch his stuff just because he's great, but I just wanted to sort of note that. And Brentwood Chic, thank you very much for 10 gifted memberships while I sort of note that. Did I miss Ian covering the goat story? I haven't covered it. I'm going to do a full video on it, but what is it? Some people who are asking about the, what is it? About it, or just the basics of this. I'm going to do a full video on this, and the full video is going to be, it's going to be hopefully coming out tomorrow if I can get it done. We'll have to see. But the next, basically the underlying thing on this one, here's sort of the basic gist of the story. This little girl gets a goat, and this is part of the 4-H program. So the goal is to ultimately sell this goat for meat. And then ultimately, she, as part of this, she raises this goat, And she starts making mistakes for this, which are, and what I'm mentioned by as mistakes is she names this goat, she plays with this goat, she falls in love with the goat. She loves the goat. And, that's kind of a mistake. If you've got an animal that you're planning to sell as meat, it's really not a great idea to say, hey, you know what, we are going to, we're going to, name it, we're going to fall in love with it, So this is really sort of setting things up for tragedy. And the tragedy then is that she goes and this goat get taken to an auction. And this is the state fair or the county fair auction, basically. And so the issue on that one is that she then says, I can't do it. And she tries to back out of the deal before the auction happens. And the fair says, no, we're not letting you back out. You have agreed you're going to sell this goat. You're selling the goat. So they auction the goat. And the goat goes for a little over $900, of which 7% is a cut for the fair. And so they're told that the goat has been auctioned, and they leave with the goat. They say, we're not doing this. They leave with the goat. And the goat then gets taken to a farm where they're going to be, where the idea is that they're going to rescue it. They reach out to the fair and they say, hey, this isn't right. We want to, we want to keep the goat. And the fair says, no deal. You agreed to sell the goat, and it's important for your daughter to learn responsibility. We don't want anyone else to hear what to hear that your daughter backed out and decide they're going to do the same thing. And so at that point, they reach out to the person who bought the goat, which by pure coincidence happens to be a state senator. Now, the state senator in some of the reports is like portrayed as a villain. However, the state senator actually isn't a villain in this. The state senator's like, oh, hey, this kid doesn't want to sell the goat. I got no problem with that. Like, we good. So they go and they work out. They had an alternate proposal for what they were going to do with this goat. The alternate proposal for what was going to happen with the goat is they wanted to take the goat and donate the goat instead to a fire abatement service. That service basically goes and they have goats eat underbrush so that fires are less likely. Somebody was asking, what was the state senator going to do with the goat? The state senator was going to donate them, was going to get meat and was going to donate that to a community barbecue. So that's all that was going to happen there. So instead, they go and they say, we are going to tell the police that you have engaged in grand theft goto. You know what? I'm going to finish telling this story, but I really need a sound thing, and I don't have it on me. So I'm going to put up some music here, and I'll be right back. But yeah, we're just going to, I got to get something. All right. So we'll need to overlay. Be right back. All right. I'm not sure that this story can properly be told without some props, without some equipment. We need the goat to tell the goat story. I should have known better. So, and I had it in the other room. So, anyway, they say basically return the goat, or we will tell we're going to tell the, the police that you've engaged in grand theft goat. And ultimately, that's what they do. They call the police and they say that there has been a theft of the goat. And I don't know what the cutoff is for grand theft in this particular area, because grand theft goat, how does a goat get to be grand theft? I think it might be $250 is the cutoff, which seems really low. This is the kind of thing that happens when they set a dollar amount and then they never adjust it for inflation. So it ends up being less and less buying power. And somebody's saying, is that a pickle as well? I also have a pickle. So. So yes, there's also a pickle. Now, in the course of this, Mom also says, listen, fair, I know you guys were going to get your cut. Your cut is $62. And the fair says, no deal. So she goes and says, listen, I will pay $62. I will pay the entire $902. I will pay whatever costs you guys have incurred on all of this. Like whatever, like if you guys had hired a lawyer at this point, I'll pay your legal bills. Just we need to keep the goat. And they say, we're not unsympathetic. It's sympathetic, but we're not unsympathetic to your plight. But, we've got to teach your kid responsibility. Now, as a general rule, if you are getting into teaching somebody else's kid responsibility, you are in a world of hurt. Don't try to parent other people's kids, right? It's kind of difficult, right? So, they go and they do tell the police that she is engaged in grand theft goat, and the police get a warrant for a particular animal sanctuary. And armed with this warrant, they go to the animal sanctuary and they find sweet F all, because there was no goat there. But they figure out where the goat is, so they keep driving out to find this goat. Now, here's the problem with that. The warrant says you can go to one particular place to get the goat. A warrant isn't transferable. And instead, they go to this other place. Now, the police, in their defense, and I mean literally in their own defense, they put this in their statement of defense. They say, we didn't need a warrant because the second place consented to us coming on the property. Okay, cool. That is, going to be debatable, because if they went onto this property and waived a warrant that was an invalid warrant around, I'm guessing that consent isn't going to fly. But they seized the goat. Now, the warrant says that the goat needs to be delivered to a magistrate. And a magistrate is, a judge, basically. It's got to be delivered to somebody who can then make decisions as to what's going to happen with the goat. Because properly speaking, if they seize something from you, there should be a procedure, like a proceeding, wherein the court decides what is going to happen with this object, right? In this case, this object is a living critter named Cedar. So the goat never makes it to the magistrate. Instead, they send it off to the 4-H club or to the fair, and presumably the goat was slaughtered. So, parents are suing, and quite frankly, I think I'm going to go through some of the law that applies in my video, but it looks to me like so the parents are suing and the minor is suing, and basically, according to the law, I think that they've got a really good case. It looks to me like they really screwed up. And I saw somebody in the chat, I missed it, but what is it? The really sort of critical thing on this one is other 4-H clubs have had this problem. And typically the way to deal with it is you just tell the kid, listen, you can keep the goat, fine, but we don't want you participating in any further auctions, right? Any further of this. You don't really have the 4-H mindset of, because you gotta, and there is, I'm gonna say something horrible. People, let me clarify before you just go, Runkle is a terrible human being. I mean, I am, but let me clarify before you decided about this one. There is some value in a kid's heartbreak. And that's the terrible statement. What I mean by that is that, we learn and grow from things that are traumatic. And there's plenty of kids who've gone through this and cried about giving up, the animal they raised, and then ultimately felt better about it at the end, right? So, that is a thing, right? There's people who are tragic and then later, who sort of go through this and cry and are upset and later ultimately say, "Hey, this was a productive experience for me. It was a formative experience for me." But there's also people for whom this is a really horrifying experience, and we got to be mindful. But especially, they say, listen, you've got to. They say in their sort of emails, they say you have got to respect. You've got to learn to respect and follow the rules. Well, so do you, fair, because the law is the rule that everyone has to follow. And so if they can't do that, then that's a problem. I think that's, but yeah, I mean, some kids just aren't cut out for it. Most are country kids and are used to life and death. Yeah. And I mean, I know some people who've had their kids go off, and do the 4-H thing. And those kids have been, they basically said, you're not going to name this, right? Do not name this, and it was just called, I think in their case it was cow. So it was just cow. We're not going to name the cow. It's just the cow. Because it was made clear the whole time, this cow is eventually going to die. So yeah. But the law here, and this is the big thing, the law here is on the side of the kid, at least as far as I can tell, unless there's something major here. So this is going to be a big problem. I think the fair is going to end up having to write a big check, and it's not going to go well. So we'll just have to we'll have to see. As I said, I'm going to do a video on that one. I'm going to talk about it. I mean, my take is, I'm a guy who, I've got no problem going hunting. My Mrs. Runkle right now is cooking dinner, and dinner includes a deer that I personally hunted, right? So I got no problem with hunting. I got no problem with ranching. I got no problem with any of that stuff. But you got to follow the law. It just is what it is. And yeah. So yeah, and I see this one as well. 4-H isn't just about raising animals for slaughter. Just to be clear, there are tons of other agricultural products that the girl can take on to get her credits. I was in 4-H for years. Yes, and this is another aspect of the suit. This is the one place where I think that they went too far, which is that they're asking for something that the court can't give them. They're asking that the 4-H club not discriminate against this girl. I don't think that that's available as a remedy. So ultimately, I think that the 4-H club will be free to tell her they want nothing to do with her. And that's fair. So, yeah. So that's kind of the story on the goat thing. But I'm going to go through all of the law there. I'm going to go through, and then I'll probably do a live stream at some point just to go through in full, all of the details about the complaint, and we'll just review all of them, and we'll probably review the defense, but the defense is real quick. There's only like one detail in it that is relevant. All the rest is just denied. I see. So they stole the senator's goat and had it slaughtered. Nobody stole the senator's goat. The senator never had a right to the goat. So that is that's another key point, and it's one that a lot of places have gotten wrong. because the senator never actually had a right to the goat as a goat. And that's a critical detail, and I'll explain why in the video. So now that I've got everyone depressed and probably done a real pitch for veganism here, which is not my goal because, yeah, it's I like meat myself. If the child is set up to be able to handle this kind of 4-H setting and isn't of the mind how farming happens, this could traumatize her for the rest of her life. Yep. That's exactly it. So, but I've had to research goat law, and I've had to, sort of look into that. Wasn't senator a good faith purchaser? Yes, but senator does not fall into the bona fide purchaser for value until and unless the item ends up in their possession. And they can be compensated by other means. So the senator is going to be, the senator's fine in all of this. The senator also was entirely willing to not get the goat. So, yeah. And I mean, I'll just admit it. I like eating goat. Goat is tasty. So, but again, the parents took her and the goat to the auction. Parents knew the rules. Sigh. The thing is that the rules also include that the kids got the right to back out because the rules don't trump the law. The law is the rule that that really, takes the prize on that one. So you got to go with the law. All right, let's cover some super chats and then we'll get on to the Afroman lawsuit. And somebody who's asking, how old is the daughter? She was 9 when this happened. She's now 10. So, yeah, it's all right. So, Sardinisms, thank you very much for the new membership. Much appreciated. Bambarina, thank you for becoming a member. Gina Monaco, thank you very much for the membership there. I see Runkle of the Bailey. Did you see the 4-H answer to the goat complaint? I think so, unless there's another answer there. The question here, what was the moment in the Paltrow case when you realized she won? I mean, it's hard to say that there's a definite moment, but I think ultimately that Sanderson's testimony really buried him because his testimony was so bad, like so bad. So yeah. All right. I think this is a really good point. I made this point and I'm going to re-emphasize this point. The senator is not the villain here, even if you agree with girl and mom. He said he was okay with the girl keeping it. The third party is the one who called the police. It was the fair or one of the people behind the fair who called the police. So basically the senator was going to donate the meat to a community barbecue. The senator, like, all he was doing was just donating the meat in order to, like whatever. And when he heard that this girl wanted out, he was like, I got no problem with that. The senator just got like, he's purely an innocent bystander here. He never insisted that he wanted the goat. He never any of that. Some of the articles have been really unfair to the senator. The senator is, he did everything that he could, to try to get this to happen properly. So no beef with the senator whatsoever, or goat with the senator. I didn't mean to make a pun with the no beef with the senator. So yeah. All right, we'll sort of keep going here. Are you going to see the D&D movie, Runkle? I am, but it'll be a little while until I can see it because I'm actually so tomorrow I'm doing day 2 of a survival course. I'm taking a survival course. The first, I got to take this survival course online before I can go and do it. There'll be a follow-up survival course later that will be actually in the woods, and I'm looking forward to doing that one. But right now, this one is online. And then after that, I will get no sleep whatsoever before I get on a plane to fly to San Antonio. And once I fly to San Antonio, I'm going to be doing stuff. I'm not going to go see the D&D movie while I'm in, I mean, I guess I could. Maybe I'll ask Kurt if he wants to see it. Maybe I'll see if Uncivil wants to go to see that one. But yeah, it's we'll just I'll see it when I can. So that'll be fun. I mean, maybe it's awful, but Runkle, do you ever watch Critical Role? They're a fantastic D&D group on YouTube. I don't have the time, and ultimately, I just typically it's not something that really works for me. Watching other people play, I know lots of people think it's great, and that that's wonderful. It's had some interesting aspects on D&D playing. That'll be something I can talk about a bit in Role of Law, but yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I got no problem with them, but I don't really watch that sort of stuff. So I see you and Kurt and all the Texas Lawyers and Dragons watchers. Me can go see it together. That would be actually kind of fun. So maybe I'll try to see it at an Alamo Draft House Theater. I could do that because I'm gonna be in Texas until I think it's the 9th that I fly out. I need to rent a hotel. I need to rent a car, all of those things. So, yeah. Ian, can you just please be more honest? I'm not sure what the issue is there, but hi. He relies on news reports. He doesn't read the underlying court documents. Yeah, and that's fair, right? I mean, Leto, I'm sure, is a busy guy. The problem is that sometimes the news reports are not accurate. And there's one of the things that is, it's definitely not accurate. There's a few points that have been misreported. And unfortunately, some of those points are things that have been misreported on this GOAT case that actually play into the analysis. So ultimately, I think Leto is right on his analysis. And I think his analysis is good based on the premises that he's got. It's largely just that he ends up having to do some extra steps in the analysis that I don't think were necessary. So that and I don't mean this to be a Leto call out or anything like that. I really like his content. It's just that is sort of the thing there. Trivial monetary support. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your ongoing work. Thank you. It's much appreciated. TC says the 4-H auction works in a particular way. For best analysis, may want to look into that process. I've looked into how they operate it, and one of the critical things is that the fair never actually takes ownership. So that's important. Any test in court on the 12 gauge shotgun since your video? Not yet. I know that there was one that was going to happen. Somebody got charged, but the case was killed. So it never actually became a test case. It never went into court. Sorry, I should clarify. It was killed on the shotgun issue. It kept going on other issues because the person was doing more than one thing, allegedly. I think it's still, that part is winding its way through the court. Rhineman YYC, hey, Runkle, if you're insistent on spreading horror and anguish, put the goat and pickle aside and just summon Cthulhu. It would be kinder. Let me... that is a great intro to a video I'm planning on doing for Role of Law. Actually, for a couple of videos I'm planning on doing for Role of Law, because I've got a couple of different games that I want to look at. So I'm going to be talking about, in my sort of games you should play series, a couple of games. One of them is this one, Call of Cthulhu, which it's a great game if you like... sort of Lovecraftian mythos. And the other one, and I've got this very fancy box set here, is Delta Green, which is also sort of Cthulhu mythos stuff, but it's set in a more modern era. Delta Green is basically special forces versus Cthulhu. And let me tell you, the special forces are wildly outgunned in that particular battle. So both of them are great guns, or great games, rather. And yeah, I'll talk about those and talk about why they're awesome. So yeah. Rachel Dueck, they should never put that kid in 4-H. The whole point of it is raising animals to be sold and shown. I can't disagree here, right? I mean, maybe parents maybe know your kid, if they're going to be... And I mean, the thing is that really you don't want the kid to be, if the kid's in 4-H, and this is something where that that the goat is ultimately destined to be meat. If I was the parent, and I'm not a parent, so I'm just talking out my butt here, but I'd be saying, like, you can't play with the goat, right? You can't play with the goat because you're going to fall in love with the goat, and it's going to be tragic. So, yeah. I tweeted you a picture mentioning LawTube referring to James Egan as Clark Kent. I saw that. There was a trial today where the judge was chewing gum. What? The judge was chewing gum? I guess the judge can, because the judge isn't going to throw themselves out of court, but that's ridiculous. Man, dude, I am a vegan, and beyond that, a huge lover of goats. I don't care if you want to eat animals, but don't kill a little girl's pet goat. Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, she wasn't going to keep the goat because she's like a city kid, it sounds like. So, it sounds like she wasn't going to keep this goat, but she wanted to keep the goat alive. She wanted to donate this goat for that. So, yeah, it's interesting. And I see Katie Hedinger, under California state law, you must be 18 or older to own an animal. So in reality, the parents owned the goat and may have signed the sale papers. I actually, in that case, they were in breach from the outset because the requirements for the fair actually required that the kid owned the goat. But I guess now I have an additional aspect of goat law to look up. So thank you for that. Oh, yes, I already did this one. Mary Deaver, aren't you just an effing ray of sunshine? That's what people tell me. I can't do a tooth glint. I wish I had that sort of lined up. Nicholas Starro, I found a bottle of Butjolakia infused vodka I made about 6 years ago. That gave me a hiccup. Highly recommended. If it's been sitting there infusing the peppers that whole time, I mean, it won't get too much hotter, but it'll get, that'd be nice. So yeah, that'd be awesome. All right. Let's have a look here. Now I'm feeling envious about that. What if Cthulhu sounds like a yodeling goat? Nobody really knows what Cthulhu sounds like, but the only cure for Cthulhu is hitting Cthulhu with a fishing boat. Smash the like button now. Thank you very much for the super sticker. Much appreciated. Thoughts on the Mass Casualty Commission report? I said on Twitter before it was released that it would just be a political hack job, and it turns out it is a political hack job because it quotes liberal policy word for word. How'd that happen? That was no accident. Yeah, they just pushed through a bunch of, hey, the liberals could really use some help with their, getting some of their policies pushed through. So we'll just load that in there. So yeah. Runkle of the Bailey, I thought part of the issue was that the kids lost multiple grandparents that same year, and the parents decided the kid had already been through too much that year. That may be, but what is it? Ultimately, it's that one's just a question of what is. That's probably more of a damages question, but ultimately, I don't think that affects the legal analysis. But yeah, Koru, I finally found some Two Brewers, Ian. I got the classic, not bad. I think it's pretty solid. So yeah. All right, so let's look at Afroman. Because Afroman is it's a little more fun than this. Although, when we're talking about the police kicking down somebody's door, I guess there's only so much things can be fun, but it's a little better, kind of. So let's actually look at the allegations in the lawsuit here. And I'm just going to take a second to pull it up. So we're going to move on past the goat. I'd never had Smithwick's before. I got that because I got some Guinness as well, but I also wanted to try a sort of an Irish beer that wasn't Guinness. It's pretty decent. I mean, it's a red ale, so can't go too far wrong. All right, so let's pull this up. And the one I've got is a little redacted, and that's just fine. All right, so here we go. We will go and I'm being told I got a swoop. I'm still not good at the swoops. Swooping. All right, so we've done a swoop. I'm told it's pronounced Smithix. Okay, so there it is. All right, so let's look at this Afroman lawsuit now. So here's the basics of this. Afroman, you know, he's a musician who most of us had forgotten existed. And I don't mean that to dunk on the guy or anything like that. I just mean that he had some really popular songs like a decade or two ago. And so that was its own thing. But for some reason, the police decided that they were going to raid Afroman's house. And they had a warrant for, amongst other things, kidnapping and drugs and various other things. So they wanted to go and raid Afroman's house. And you know what? We're gonna take that down for a second, because after they raided his house, there was some further allegations and issues. And let's talk about that, because before we get to the lawsuit, let's talk about these issues, because I think that they're kind of interesting. So they raid his house, and in the course of this, $400 goes missing. And so basically, they searched his house. They took a whole bunch of money. They seized thousands of dollars, and they returned thousands of dollars. But they returned $400 less than they seized. So here's the thing. So they say that they seized, so what the sheriffs ultimately decided after investigating all of this is they decided that that they must have miscounted, that the $400 must have somehow never existed in the first place, and that in fact, so I'm like, really? Did this $400 just go missing? Like, that is a bit of a concern, right? Did this just vanish on us? And also, apparently they didn't pay for his door or any of the other stuff that they broke, which is kind of common, where the the police might kick in the door and break stuff. And but I mean, here, I don't know how you can miscount the $400 when you're seizing it. Like, if that is actually what's happening, they need to fire some cops, because let me tell you, I'm a criminal defense lawyer, right? So sometimes I'm representing innocent people. It happens, but sometimes I'm also representing bad people. And you know what helps get bad people acquitted? 400 missing dollars, right? Because at that point, here's what I argue as a defense lawyer. If I say, look, they say that they seized $5,000. The amount of cash that has made it into court right here is 4,600. This isn't the same pile of cash, or ultimately somebody may have tampered with this cash and you have lost continuity of this cash. So you can actually, they can actually lose cases on the basis of this. This is not something that should ever be okay, right? So I kind of wonder, because there've also been way too many instances where police have just kind of kept money. We had one here recently in Canada where So the one recently in Canada where there was a picture of money that was, taken in a raid, and then in court, they said that they had seized far less money. And the judge found that, in fact, some of the money had gone missing and had basically said, I can't conclude who stole it, but someone stole it. So that's I think that this is relevant as part of the backstory. He is missing, he's either missing $400 or somebody miscalculated, but I got some concerns on this one. So he does this video, and I can't play the video because if I play the video, I will get this stream taken down. But the video includes footage of the police raiding his home. He's got cameras everywhere. And so the police are raiding his home as they're doing this. And he's playing this, and he's asking things like, were there kidnapping victims in my CDs? Were there kidnapping victims in my suit pockets? Were there were there pounds of marijuana in my suit pockets? And, asking, do you want to have some of my lemon pound cake, as they walk right past the lemon pound cake? Zora has opinions, folks. Zora is very invested in this case. So he makes this video, and it's hilarious, right? So I recommend watching it. It's fantastic. But and people are saying, can I play the video? I'm not going to play the video. I don't want to sort of end up eating a copyright strike on this one. But the police then turn around, and their response to this is that they sue Afroman. And can you imagine how obnoxious it is that you have your house raided and then you get sued for talking about it? So, yeah. All right. Let's have a look at the lawsuit here, because yeah. So, complaint for damages and injunctive relief with jury demand endorsed hereon. So they're suing, and it's this big list of names: Sean D. Cooley, Justin Cooley, Michael D. Estep, Sean D. Grooms, Brian Newland, and Lisa Phillips, Randolph L. Walters, Joseph Edgar Foreman, or versus Joseph Edgar Foreman, Hungry Hustler Records, Media Access Incorporated, and a bunch of other people who they don't know. So now I'm just going to note all those cops that I noted: Sean D. Cooley, Justin Cooley, Michael D. Estep, Sean S. Grooms, Brian Newland, Lisa Phillips, and Randolph L. Walters Jr. are people you would never have heard of but for this lawsuit. So, but now you know who they are. Now you've heard of them. And I see Rob's in the chat. I missed him arriving, but yeah, he's probably saying, Runkle, get on topic. So you would never have heard of these people but for this lawsuit. So fantastic. Great work. So they then sue him, and we'll go through this and just talk about the sort of basis here. Defendant, so Joseph Edgar Foreman, aka Afroman, is an individual residing in Adams County. They went through the list of all the police there. Defendant, Hungry Hustler Records, on information and belief, is a business entity doing business in Adams County, which is owned and operated by Joseph Edgar Foreman and is used to market and sell his music videos, merchandise, and other production products. This is his thing. He apparently wants me to sing. I will try, I guess, in a little moment. Defendant Media Access Incorporated is a video service and music distribution and royalty collection thing. So there's that. And there's some other sort of business entities that they think might be involved. All right. So factual basis. He markets and sells a variety of products under the trade name Afroman, which include beer, marijuana, t-shirts, and other merchandise. I wonder if I can get Afroman. Does anyone know, can you get Afroman brand beer in Texas? Because if so, I may have to do a video trying Afroman brand beer. that I think would be entertaining. All right. So he continues to perform online and at live events, which is cool. All right. So Foreman was not present at the time of the search, but his wife was in the home, observed the search, and recorded portions of the search on her camera phone, including the faces and bodies of many of the law enforcement officers involved. Now, I just want to note here his wife was present in the home. Now, I guess let's watch the video. I'm going to adjust my settings so that so that it won't pipe the audio through. So you guys aren't going to see the audio on this one. So let me just make sure that's the case. All right, let me pull it up. Here we go. All right, we're going to do this. And I've been told I got to sing. Friends, I apologize in advance for my singing. I know that that's, yeah. So we will bring this up here. All right, here we go. There we go. All right. Now, guys, could you hear the audio? There was that tick, 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 tick. Could anyone hear that? Because if you can, I got to stop right away. And Disney Mom is saying, do you always do what you're told? Usually the opposite. So, all right. So I see people saying no audio. Excellent. Apparently Bruce Rivers showed the audio, but I don't know if he got a copyright claim or what. So I'm going to try to sing along with this. Will you help me repair my gate? Will you help me repair my door? Did you find what you were looking for? Will you help me repair my gate and my door? You had a slice of lemon pound cake. Wouldn't take as much as you wanna take. There must be some big mistake. Would you like us have a slice of my lemon pound cake? Sorry, folks, my singing is awful and I haven't practiced this. Warrant says narcotics and kidnapping. The warrant says narcotics and kidnapping. Are you hitting? I make my money rapping. Does the warrant say narcotics and... Well, I know narcotics, but why kidnapping? Let me ask you something, officer. Kidnapping victims inside my suit pockets. Are there any kidnapping victims inside my suit pockets? Couldn't wait to stop it. There are no kidnapping victims. My suit pockets. There are $1,000 of weed in my suit pockets. Is there 1,000 pounds of weed in my suit pockets? Could cops need to stop it? There's not there's not 1,000,000 pounds of weed. My suit pockets. Let me ask you something else. Any kidnappings in my CDs? Any kidnapping victims inside my CDs? The Adams County Sheriff's Department, you can can get these. There are no kidnapping victims in my CDs. How many pounds of weed are inside my CDs? How many pounds of weed are inside my CDs? County sheriffs, you can get these. How many counts of weed did you find in my CDs? Are you certain in my honey? Why are you stealing my money? Resent, well, and it's funny. You're stealing my money or card every day. Pay taxes, money. I love that line. Sheriff disconnected my cameras. The sheriff disconnected my cameras. Sheriff to be locked up in slammers. The Adams County Sheriff Department disconnected my camera. You have to traumatize my kids. Did you have to traumatize my kids? Did you have to traumatize my kids? Did you have to traumatize my kids? You kind of for doing my wrong. Will you pay me for doing me wrong? You pay me for doing me wrong? Or will I have to get my through this song? How do you think they're going to buy this, man? All right. So that's the song and that's the video. And my apologies for the my apologies. My singing is not top notch. And I also just can't do the now see, are you okay? Are you doing shooters or something? People asked. I thought it might be funny. So here's the really fun thing about this is that when you watch that, and I mean, I was watching it. I got a big screen here. I got the ability to see it in large screen. I could walk by any one of those cops. In fact, I could walk by the entire lineup of cops and not recognize a single one of them, right? Could you recognize one of those cops from this? I don't see anything there. So I think that's kind of relevant here because it's really low quality. Often the cuts are such that you either see the police from a distance or they're hard to recognize. The one that you might be able to recognize is the larger officer who is walking by the cake, who doesn't actually take the cake, but the larger officer who's wandering by it. So yeah. Now, when they say that his wife was present, keep in mind they're breaking down the door. They're doing this with rifles drawn. This is not exactly going to be a situation that is minimally stressful. In fact, it's going to be incredibly stressful, right? So we'll keep going here. Foreman's residence was equipped with several security video cameras, which also recorded many portions of the search, including the faces and bodies of many of the law enforcement officers involved. So, Foreman creates commercial videos with faces and bodies of plaintiffs. All right, so here's sort of the lawsuit there. After the search was concluded, Foreman used portions of the recording of the search from his wife's phone and his surveillance cameras to create music videos about the search. These music videos clearly portray the images, likenesses, and distinctive appearances, personas, of many of the officers involved in the search, including those of all plaintiffs. And this is a fair comment. Your singing is very, very unique. Yes, and unique is not a good thing here. So I apologize again. All right. Foreman created dozens of videos and images of plaintiffs' personas and posted them on various social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram. Foreman has used and continues to use the videos and photos of the plaintiffs' personas for commercial purposes, to promote his Afroman brand, to sell products, to promote his music tours, and to make money from the use of plaintiffs' images on videos and other media. So they are very upset and they're very angry that they're being made fun of online, right? They don't like that. But what they're saying here is that he is making money in the course of this, and that therefore he's using their images for commercial purposes, which is actually something that is provided for in certain circumstances. So, following are some of the many examples of the defendant's use of the personas of the plaintiffs for commercial purposes. Some of these I want to see if I can order. So, Instagram post containing an image of Foreman wearing a shirt with an image of plaintiff Sean Cooley beside an image of Peter Griffin, Family Guy. Caption, "Good morning, ladies. What up, fellas? Congratulations to Officer Poundcake. Thank you for getting me to 5.4 million hits on TikTok. I couldn't have done it without you, obviously. Congratulations again. You're famous for all the wrong reasons. As you can see, all my pound cake is gone, officers. Officer Poundcake confiscated by Poundcake. He said something happened to his body camera on the way to the evidence room. Lol." So, he's very clearly making fun of the officer. And, I mean, it's a fat joke. It's not exactly high humor because that officer was a larger gentleman, but he's making a fat joke about the officer, right? That's what that is. Instagram post containing images of fans holding merchandise that contains images of Sean Cooley. Caption, "Lemon Pound Cake." Instagram post in which Foreman confirms that OG Afroman is his official account. Post contains images of plaintiff Brian Newland, then advertises Afroman's new album. Instagram post containing image of Foreman wearing a shirt with images of plaintiff Justin Cooley. Post promotes new album. Caption, "What's your favorite song on Lemon Pound Cake so far? Also, what's your favorite line?" Instagram post containing image of Foreman wearing merchandise and promoting merchandise with plaintiff Sean Cooley. Caption, "I am pressing up merchandise for my up-and-coming Canada tour with Officer Poundcake shirt. Do you like the one most to the one on the left or the right? Let me know so I invest my money in the more popular shirt." I got to pause reading this. Afroman is doing a Canada tour. Afroman Canada tour. That's probably already happened, but now I'm just trying to look at when that's going to be, because if Afroman is coming to town, I might have to go see that just for the hilarity value. So, all right. And I see, I watched another Canadian privacy lawyer, David Fraser. I enjoyed his take on this. I'm glad you're doing this because I wanted to hear your thoughts. David Fraser is a great guy. I love his content, and he's a friend of mine. So I see that they are going to be in Victoria, Kelowna. I might want to go to the Kelowna one. I know some people in Kelowna. I could go to the Vancouver one. It doesn't look like they're coming anywhere near Edmonton, though. Dang it. Well, we will see. I might have to go and I don't know, maybe. Although the Kelowna one's in April 18th. I think that's too close for me to make it to Kelowna. Dang it. I don't think I'm going to make it to that one. So that is unfortunate. All right, let's, so he keeps going. He more images of this cop, and video of fans and defendants singing Lemon Pound Cake while a fan wears merchandise that contains images of plaintiff Sean Cooley. Interview on Vlad TV, during which Foreman discusses the use of the search as material for songs. Foreman admits to using images and clips from the search in videos and promotion. Foreman states that his Will You Repair My Door song went viral, which I think is accurate. Foreman states that his Lemon Pound Cake clip went viral on TikTok. Foreman says, everyone understood what I was talking about when I said lemon pound cake. That's the cop on the viral video TikTok that was going through the house that wanted the slice of the lemon pound cake. So, noting that one. Barney Cat saying, what WTF? It's not at 2 yet, so I'll just go with the WTF. Maybe it's my medication, but you're singing. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So, all right. So, yeah, he keeps going here. So, Instagram post that portrays Judge Gabbert, the judge who signed the search warrant, next to an image of Droopy. Caption, this is the judge that signed the warrant that said kidnapping. His name is Roy Droopy Gabbert. Vote him out before he signs a fictitious warrant, then send some overreacting, paranoid KK cops to your house, jeopardizing the lives of you and your family, stealing your money, and disconnecting your home video security surveillance system. Vote out Judge Roy Droopy Gabbert. Then go get my new album, Lemon Pound Cake, September 30th on all platforms. So let's talk about that in a little bit, because so they've got plaintiff Lisa Phillips next to an image of the Mona Lisa. Good morning, ladies. Here she is, the condescending C blank NT. I'm wondering if I suspect that was censored on Instagram, and I'm reporting his language. I'm not saying that this is language I agree with. It's just his language. Adams KK Country Sheriff Lieutenant Mona Lickum Low Lisa to serve and disconnect your home video security surveillance system, so you won't have proof of the Adams County Sheriff Department stealing money and other things around your house, possibly even planting false kidnapping evidence. I used to speak to this lady when I dropped my kids off to school. I always wonder why she never spoke back, just looked at me with the same condescending C-word look you see in the picture. I spoke to her again at the metal detector in the Adams County Courthouse. Her voice was 3 octaves lower than mine, lol. Has anybody in Adams County verified her V? So, I mean, that's some interesting language there. If you haven't, you should, or she might whoop out something bigger than yours. So a little crass. If this lady is your friend, I wouldn't leave her alone in my house, or I'll put it this way, if you leave and your video system is messed up when you get back, you know who did it. Why would a good cop want to disconnect a video security surveillance system? So, yeah, he keeps going there. So they're talking about more stuff that he creates, but here's the thing. A ton of this stuff, yeah, and I'm seeing some people going, ooh, no Afroman, no. Yeah. It's fair to cover that Afroman can kind of be a jerk too. So, there are typically not a lot of universal heroes here, but he's being pretty blunt about his feelings. So yeah, a lot of people not loving all of this, but the fun thing about this is that even though he's being a jerk, it's protected speech. Like, this is political speech. Now, they note here, as a result of defendants' actions, plaintiffs have been subjected to ridicule, even in the further performance of their official duties, by members of the public who have seen some of defendants' above described postings. In some instances, it has made it more difficult and even more dangerous for plaintiffs to carry out their official duties because of comments made and attitudes expressed towards them by members of the public. So they're looking to arrest somebody, and that person is going, hey, officer, you want some lemon pound cake? That kind of thing. As a further result of defendants' actions, plaintiffs have been subjected to threats, including death threats by anonymous members of the public who have seen some of defendants' above described postings. Now, nobody is in favor of death threats, right? But Afroman didn't tell people, none of that was saying to to send death threats. Like, we didn't see anything where he's like, tell them you're going to kill them. He didn't do that. So it's just that when you report on something and people don't like the people, there's always, I mean, this is the problem with the internet, is that there's still going to be a whole bunch of things. And I still don't see a cause of action by Foreman. Foreman isn't the one suing here. The cops are suing Foreman. That's what's going on. He's not the one suing. So, as a result of defendants' actions, plaintiffs suffered damages, including all profits derived from and attributable to defendants' unauthorized use of plaintiffs' personas, and have suffered humiliation, ridicule, mental distress, embarrassment, and loss of reputation. Plaintiffs continue and will continue in future to suffer damages unless defendants are enjoined from further violation of plaintiffs' rights. All right, so now we're going to get into some law. And the law on this one is going to be fun, because what I mean by fun is the officers are, they're stretching. That's just how I'm going to describe that. They're stretching real hard. So I'm just going to see if I can bring this up, because they're alleging a violation of on Ohio Rev Code, which is revised code, chapter 2741. And this is the right of publicity in an individual's persona. So this is what they're trying, or this is like one of the major things they're trying to sue for. All right, I'm going to pull that down, and I'm going to instead pull up the relevant law, because this is a law channel. We're going to do some law. So we're going to law it up in here. All right, let's pull up some law. Here we go, law. And let's make some law bigger, because big law is better than small law when we're dealing with small screens. So this is right of publicity in an individual's persona. And we can start off by looking at some of the aspects here. So here we have this bit. Persona means an individual's name, voice, signature, photograph, image, likeness, or distinctive appearance if any of these aspects have commercial value. Right now, we have already just decided our case, right? Because commercial value here is going to be a big problem for these officers. How many of these officers did you know of before this, right? How many of these officers did you know of before this case? I'm going to guess it was none of them, right? So I'm going to guess it was zero. If that officer beforehand, Officer Lemon Pound Cake, had gone up and said, I want to sell shirts with my face on it, who would have bought one? I'm hearing crickets, right? I'm hearing lots of crickets. So the only reason it's got any commercial value here is because Afroman created that. So I don't see that these things had any commercial value to them. What this is clearly, like, there is a purpose for this law, right? This law is intended to protect people who have a personality, whose personality might be commercially marketable in and of itself. So, for example, Afroman is a person whose name, voice, signature, photograph, image, likeness, or distinctive appearance could have commercial value. There's other people as well. Me, potentially, right? I mean, I get people who send me emails going, please endorse my product. I don't think the cops are getting things saying, please endorse my product. So I don't see that they're likely to get any, and we can just go through all sorts of people, right? I see cops rarely have a personality, not a marketable one. But Tiger, if you make golf clubs and you put Tiger Woods' signature on it, and Tiger Woods has not agreed to that, this is saying that they can sue for that. But it's not intended to say that you can sue for any other random thing. So right now, that whole commercial value thing seems to be determinative of the case. But there are some other exceptions that that apply here. So, you shall not use any aspect of an individual's persona for a commercial purpose during their lifetime, 60 years after their death, or 10 years after the death of a deceased member of the Ohio National Guard or the Armed Forces of the United States. You can do it with consent, which is fine, or consent of people's ownership and so forth, blah, blah, blah. But there are some important exceptions. Really, really, really important sections, because the U.S. has rights. It's a country where people have rights. And one of the most important rights that the U.S. enjoys is the First Amendment, right? You guys have the right to free speech. And so this law is going to end up with some carve-outs to try to make sure that it doesn't infringe free speech. And so one of the important ones here is, for the purpose of this section, a use of an aspect of an individual's persona in connection with any news, public affairs, sports broadcast, or account does not constitute a use for which consent is required under Division A of this section. So, it seems to me that when he's talking about, hey, this is the account of what happened in my house, that's news, that's public affairs, that's an account. So use of an aspect in connection with any political campaign does not violate. And yeah, so what he is engaging in here fundamentally is he is engaging in political speech, right? He's saying, I was searched, it was improper. This use of government authority was improper, and it traumatized my kids. It damaged me. I had losses. This judge, I mean, you may or may not like what he says about the judge in terms of making fun of the judge by comparing the judge to Droopy. But what he's saying about the judge is, don't elect this judge because they signed off on a stupid warrant, which is absolutely political speech, right? Do not vote for this person. They have done bad things with their office, is political speech. So, yeah, to me, that is just absolutely, I just don't see how they're going to spin that. I think that the police are running, I think they're likely to have a tough one. Surely a contract is a contract, not with a minor. Nope. A contract is a contract, except they can walk out of it. All right. So next one. Ooh, you're going to want to see the screen here. I should show you guys the screen. Invasion of privacy by misappropriation. So they've said that they have appropriated their own use to benefit the reputation, prestige, social standing, public interest, and other values of plaintiffs' names and likenesses, which have intrinsic value in contravention of plaintiffs' right to privacy. The thing is that they're not relying on the reputation, prestige, social standing, public interest, and other value of their names and likenesses. In fact, they're mocking those things. He's saying that these cops don't deserve reputation, prestige, social standing, public interest, or other values of their names and likenesses, because he's mocking them, right? He's saying you guys have acted badly in the course of your duties, therefore you don't deserve these things. Okay. So that one doesn't seem like it's gonna, fly. False light publicity. They say in their depictions on social media and otherwhere, they made statements that were false and that they knew to be false, and which portrayed plaintiffs in a false light, subjecting them to undue ridicule, embarrassment, mental distress, and danger. They don't name any here, right? So I'm wondering which ones they're saying are false. But yeah, maybe they're going to say that the officer didn't actually eat any of the lemon pound cake. But largely, I mean, the light he seems to shed on them is not false light. It looks like it's the whole thing of shedding some sunlight as the best disinfectant, right? Because when we say sunlight is the best disinfectant, showing the police doing things that we may not agree with is kind of that. Unreasonable publicity given to private lives. And they say their postings, as described above, gave publicity to matters concerning the private lives of plaintiffs, which were not of legitimate concern to the public, and the exposure of which a reasonable person would find to be highly offensive. Which things are they saying in this are private lives of the plaintiffs? Like, you searching something is that? Is that a problem? And I see, sorry, Runkle, but that's complete BS. Didn't name any here. He had pictures of them while accusing them of felonies. The problem is, I mean, they're not suing him for defamation. They're suing him for false light. There's some distinctions there. But the other thing is, when there's $400 missing, he may actually, he may actually have a decent ground to stand on that. So that's, I mean, that one has maybe some aspects, but the private lives, this one, I mean, he does make some comments that seem to go to the sexuality of that one officer. That may apply, but I don't know if that was, I mean, how would he know unless that was something that was already in the public eye? Because I don't see that he's got some special insight into their life. But in terms of the aspects of them doing things on the job, I don't see it. And normally when you expect a claim like this to stand, normally in the claim, you would actually include the specifics here, as opposed to just this general statement. They also are asking for injunctive relief. And injunctive relief means that they want to stop him from doing the thing. So defendants continue to violate plaintiffs' rights and subject them to undue ridicule, mental distress, and danger by posting untrue and demeaning depictions of them on social media and elsewhere. Now, keep in mind, a lot of that is going to be protected by free speech, and to the extent that it's not, typically the court will compensate that with money. That's what you get for defamation, typically. Unless defendants are restrained, plaintiffs will suffer irreparable injury to their reputations, their mental health, and their legally protected right as defendants continue to willfully and maliciously violate those rights. They're making fun of us. Make them stop, Daddy Court. Make them stop, Daddy Courthouse. So continuing injury to plaintiffs outweighs any potential injury to defendants that would result from an injunction, which would be huge money. And yeah. So that would be big money there. So yeah, they're asking for money, they're asking for an injunction, they're asking for all sorts of things. And we'll see how it goes. I don't have a whole lot of faith that it's going to go anywhere sort of in their benefit. So let's go through some super chats here. Maybe I'll do a swoop as we do that. So check out the video, Why Are You Disconnecting My Video Camera? That's where he posts the pics of them out and about that he probably got from their own social media. And if it's on their own social media and it's posted publicly, then they're going to have a tough time with that. And I see, unless it was heard by Judge Droopy, Judge Droopy would almost certainly recuse themselves. If that got assigned to that, Judge Droopy would almost certainly be like, nope. Lita Randolph, could you do a short of you singing? There's only so many unsubscribes I can get out of one video. So let's not do that. I'd get hammered. Smash the like button now. Thank you very much. My high school played Because I Got High over the intercom in an attempt to dissuade students from smoking weed. It had the opposite effect. Lol. That was a major own goal. They should have realized that one. Because, yeah, Afroman's song is not exactly a warning about the dangers of weed, per se. Slim Jim Slim, maybe they miscalculate, or they also miscalculated FTX's 3 billion buckaroos. That would be... Yeah, the old joke about, like, we seized $10,000. We checked $9,000 into evidence. Oh, good thing we've got this $8,000. And the thing is I've had a lot of clients report that, and like one of my clients was arrested, and he tells me in my office, he's like, I was wearing this gold chain, and where did this gold chain go? They stole my gold chain. And I look at the police when they booked the guy in, they took an inventory and no gold chain. So I'm telling this guy, I'm like, buddy, you didn't have a gold chain, right? That's the police say you never had one. Like, what are we going to do? So, as it turned out, there was some footage, some video camera footage of this guy getting arrested. And in the video camera footage, you can clearly see the guy's wearing a gold chain. And I went, huh. Anyway, that case went away. So, because, yeah, that was a thing. It happens. Bop it, pup snacks. I will make sure the pups get their snacks. Brentwood Chic, love the singing. You might be in the minority there, but thank you very much. David Craig, bravo, bravo. Thank you. Vez from Quebec, so generous for your fans. Thanks. I'm going to get mockery online. I'm sure one of the Clips channels is going to put that up. So enjoy. Slim Jim Slim, thank you for the super sticker. Same for Cynthia CM, very appreciated. Koru for singing lessons, Ian, or maybe rap would be your genre. I think silence is probably my my genre. Lori Laney, thank you very much for the super sticker. Laura Christine, because this is the best. Thank you very much. You legend, singing deserves all the lemon pound cake. And then no and beer. There we go. Thank you very much. Midnight Drury, thank you. It's much appreciated. Lindsay, the real question, will Zora eventually pull up this clip to justify her chronic destruction of Ethernet cables? Quite possibly. It's starting to melt a little bit, so I'm going to have to go and see. I'm going to have to go and see and post everything on or get that cord up in the air. Law and Lumber, I'm being reminded that your first singing endeavor was on Friday Night Frenzy. I have the ability to chop into a short if I so choose. Hey, they're your subscribers that you'd be losing, man. So that's up to you. You're going to get people like listening to that and going, nah, unsub. Sorry. Hilarious. You Rockian. Thanks for the laughs. Well, thank you very much. For the lemon pound cake fund. Thank you very much. Good man, committed to the bit. Well, I mean, I playing it with just no audio would be bad. Cops getting a bad rap. Lol, just kidding. I think that was me giving them the bad rap. I am so here for the groovy elven vocals. And then elf music. Nice. 5 stars. Best cover of a song parodying the Adams County Sheriff's Department in 2023. I feel like I'm being damned by highly specific praise. $20 to Ian singing. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thanks, DJ Soup Pockets. Buy yourself something pretty. Very nice. I love drinking with brilliant people. Thank you very much. I've got a good beer and good people, so it's good times. Joe Loy for the singing. Obviously, lol, you are a clever man with a sense of humor, or one I like. Well, thank you very much. Amethyst Jones, Runkle, I have a serious legal question. How do I get it to you? My email address is in the About page, so check that out. Thank you for these awesome streams. They make my life so happy. I should warn, I'm getting like 150 emails a day these days. A lot of them are spam, but I try to respond to things, but I'm not great at it. I lose stuff. So it is what it is. I went through that one. I live in Canada. My mom called the cops and gave her boyfriend's shotgun to the police because she didn't want to have it in her house. Is she in trouble? Maybe. She could be. There's potential for that. He could be in trouble too if she doesn't have a license and she was able to get access to it. So there's all sorts of things. So Kate Collins, thank you very much for the super chat there. Rachel Dueck, as one of Rob's subscribers, I would just laugh repeatedly. That's fair. You and Zora should do a duet. Zora would probably nibble my nose because that is something that what is it? That is something she does. So it's all in good fun regarding your singing. Much love. Well, thank you very much. And also for the singing, love the channel. Thank you very much. Singing seems to be surprisingly popular there. So when does your single drop? Yeah. I see if Afroman only blurred their faces. I mean, it is a pretty blurry video, but at the end of the day, mocking the police is kind of one of the highest areas of protected speech. So, yeah. Next up, Vogon poetry. I love the reference. So, all right. So now we will do a swoop and move on to another thing. We have swooped. All right. So the next one I want to cover, and it's going to take me just a second while I bring it up, is, and this is a good one. Love you, Ian, but don't give up lawyering. Fair. I kind of wanted to go over David Halls. David Halls has now officially completed his guilty plea. He's done his sentencing, and that ended up posted to YouTube. So we're going to watch that, I think. Give me a second. I just got to find it here in all of this. All right. Yeah, give me a second. I got to delete some of these downloaded videos because, where are you? Sort by date will be much more practical. There we go. Here we go. All right. So we've got the David Hall's guilty plea here. So, all right, let's see how this goes.
All right, counsel, was that sufficient time?
Oh, yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I should probably provide some details as to who David Halls is. He's the assistant director and safety guy on Rust. So Helena Hutchins, or not Helena Hutchins, she's obviously not at trial. Alec Baldwin and Hannah Gutierrez-Reed are still going to trial over the death of Helena Hutchins. David Hall, on the other hand, has taken a deal. And so he is he's doing his guilty plea here. It's a little bit of a contested guilty plea. They argue over something. Now, I think that this is I really like covering this one for a couple of reasons. One, this is actually how most guilty pleas look. And what I mean by that is that it's pretty straightforward. It's like, this is a 10-minute video clip, or like 17 minutes, I think it is. So, yeah, David Hall was the guy who handed the gun to Alec Baldwin. He declared the gun cold without checking it. Yeah. So, this is what most, like, people, when they see sentencings, right, they're usually looking at sentencings on, you know, these big, huge cases, right? Multiple murders or these kinds of things, right? Where it's this lengthy process. But this is more what a lot of them look like. A lot of guilty pleas are taken care of in like 10 minutes. This one's a little longer, but we'll go through it and I'll talk about it. It's another jurisdiction, but it's very familiar in terms of how it goes. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
Your Honor.
All right. So I believe you stated your appearances for the record. Let's just recall it. D101CR 2023-41, State of New Mexico versus David Halls. Counsel, please state your appearance again.
Carrie Morrissey and Jason Lewis on behalf of the state of New Mexico.
Thank you.
This is just the lawyers
Lisa
introducing
Tarocco,
themselves.
representing Mr. Dave Halls, who is also on the Google Meet.
Okay. Is he going to appear by video as the
Yes, Your Honor. And his video is currently off, but you can see his name on it. If you'd like for him to come on, he can do that.
I think he should be present, Mr. Halls, by video.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. And
So now the thing is that often these a lot of guilty pleas now where I am are being done by like video. The thing is that typically they don't want you to do a sentencing by video unless you're almost certainly not going to jail. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is you don't typically want somebody to get sentenced to jail and they're not actually in the courthouse for the sheriff to grab them. But the judge is like, I want to see your face. I want to see what your I want to see your reactions. And I mean, that's fair, right? Sometimes I've seen, I've had clients who got themselves what we call a rocket ride. And a rocket ride is when your sentence goes up, 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 because they made faces during court or that kind of thing. So she's saying, put your face on the screen. I want to be able to see you as this goes.
then I would like to put on the record that it was the defense that asked for a video plea.
Okay,
Yes, Your Honor. We're waiving in-person appearance. Thank you very much for granting that.
Okay, very good. All right, let's put the terms on the record, Ms. Morrissey or Mr. Lewis.
And this is also a good point.
Your Honor, Mr. Halls
That it's
will
actually
be
them.
pleading no contest today to negligent use of a deadly weapon. And that is the unsafe handling of a firearm. The state is agreeing to a suspended sentence with 6 months of unsupervised probation with the conditions that are outlined in paragraph 1 of the plea agreement.
So this is interesting because it's a plea of no contact. And no contact is, or sorry, no contest, not no contact. I am not sleeping, so that's its own thing. But so they're not saying that, you know, they're not pleading guilty. They're just saying we're not fighting this. It's a no contest plea. Where I am, that's not a legal plea. No contest is not a legal plea at all. You either plead guilty or you plead not guilty. You can't, you know, this is not an option. So, and 6 months probation is not a bad, you know, I see, whoops, not a bad deal. I agree. So carrying on here.
All right, thank you. Mr. Halls, I need to ask you some questions to make sure that you understand your criminal case and that you're entering into this plea knowingly, voluntarily, and willingly. So my first question.
So this is something, I don't know if it's required by law where they're doing this, but it's required by law here in Canada. Either way, even if it's not required by law, this is you know, I can't say whether it's required legally where they are, because there are, you know, there may or may not be, but this is also appeal proofing a decision, right? To just say they want to make sure that he can't later back out and say, hey, I didn't know what I was doing. And that includes if the judge decides to go against him. So.
How old are you?
I'm 63 years old.
And how far did you get in school?
Associate of Arts degree.
All right. And these are standard questions. So were you able to
Now I will
were you
say
able to understand your criminal case?
How far did you get in school? A lot of the time when the judge is asking that, the question or the answer might be like grade 4, right? And so that's an important thing when they get to the next question as to, are you able to understand like what the deal is, right? Because it's just, how far did you get in school? It's basically, do you understand what's going on, right? Because a lot of people who are facing the criminal justice system are looking at, you know, are coming at this with very little education. Hey, we got Boss Attorney Bree in the chat. Hey, nice to see you here. So yeah, they want to make sure, like, because a fair number of my clients are illiterate. And I will tell you, the literacy rate of Canada is pretty good. So when I start, the fact that people who get in trouble are more likely to be people with lesser educations. It's just straight up. I have many clients who can't read. Same here. Yeah, it's a thing.
Yes, Your
Were
Honor.
you able? Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Were you able to read the plea and disposition agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
So when you signed the plea and
Straight up a
disposition
literacy
agreement, you
question.
understood what you were signing?
I did, Your Honor.
Do you suffer from any mental or emotional illness?
No, Your Honor.
Are you under the influence of any alcohol or drugs today?
No, Your Honor.
And I mean, all of these are good questions because I quite literally have had to adjourn sentencing. I brought in my client at one point and we were going to do a sentencing and I'm like, I need to adjourn. And the judge is like, why? It's like, Your Honor, my client is an alcoholic and is intoxicated. And the judge is like, okay, we're not doing a plea today then. And so we put it over and I was like, but the problem is when you've got an alcoholic client, not intoxicated or at least not having consumed may not be an option. So you just want somebody who's at least able to understand what's going on. All of these are viable questions considering this guy is kind of an exceptional person for the criminal justice system, which is kind of tragic.
All right, let me go over your constitutional rights because by entering this plea of guilty, you're giving up important constitutional rights. You have the right to remain silent. You're presumed innocent of the charges. The state has the burden to prove that you are guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You are not required to prove that you are innocent. You have the right to an attorney at all stages of the proceedings and an attorney appointed free of charge if you cannot afford one. You also have the right to trial by jury. At trial, you would have been able to confront people that accused you of this crime. Your attorney would have been able to ask questions of them in front of the jury. You could have brought in your own witnesses and your own evidence, and you could have had the court require witnesses to appear and testify on your behalf. Do you understand those rights?
I do, Your Honor.
And are you willing to give up those rights today for this plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may have legal defenses to the charges. I don't know, but you're giving up those legal defenses as well. Do you understand that?
I understand, Your Honor.
All right, so you're going to be entering a plea of no contest, which is still a conviction
That's both.
up to a petty
That's both.
misdemeanor. That carries a term of incarceration or an exposure to incarceration of 6 months. I'm going to suspend that 6 months and place you on unsupervised probation. And then you're going to have some requirements that are in addition to standard conditions of unsupervised probation.
She may or may not be reading off a sheet, but she will have given this same line thousands of times. Here in Canada, we've got section 606, and that's what we're required to go through. And the 606 has a few different elements to it. The first is that you understand that you are pleading guilty. You're doing so voluntarily. You acknowledge that you're giving up your right to a trial, where otherwise the Crown would have to prove things. You also have to understand that you also have to acknowledge that the judge has the ability to jump the sentence, and the judge can impose whatever sentence is lawful. And further, you have to understand sort of the consequences of your plea. So these are things that are required. So that's kind of the elements on that. So what's the sense in this? They got to make sure that the plea is being done validly. Unsupervised probation. Yep. So unsupervised probation is pretty nice at the end of the day because he's not going to have to check in. He's not going to, any of that stuff. He's going to basically he's going to be told some things he's got to do during this time. And unless they actually catch him violating that, he'll be fine. So basically he's going to be on this 6 months, and then assuming he doesn't do something dramatically stupid, he will clear that and be good. So, yes. And I see additional requirements, testify against Baldwin and Gutierrez Reed. Yep. That's going to be in there. So let's keep going.
Have you been told anything about your sentence or given any promises that are different than what Ms. Morrissey put on the record?
I have not, Your Honor.
Can you assure me of that, Ms. Tarocco?
I did. This is what I had to talk to Ms. Morrissey about prior to starting. Ms. Carmack told us that we could argue for a deferred sentence.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah. And so I.
Are you opposed to, do you agree with that? Any opposition to that?
I have no objection to that.
All right.
I have no objection to her arguing.
I understand. All right. Okay.
That's an important clarification, because when you're speaking in court, sometimes lawyers have to be very careful about language, right? So I'm not agreeing to to a deferred sentence, but I'm agreeing that you can argue for it. And the deferred sentence would allow him to avoid a conviction going on his record. So that's going to be the issue here is, does he get a record at the end of this? So yeah.
Is this plea something you're doing of your own free will?
Right.
Mr. Halls,
Deferred
that question went to you.
sentence,
Is this plea something you're doing of your own free will?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anyone applied any force or made any threats or promises to get you to enter into this agreement?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you're represented by Ms. Tarocco. Have you had the opportunity to go over your case with her and explain any defenses you think you might have had?
Yes, Your Honor. I am.
Now, I just want to note, right now, this guy is acting like a dream client. And what I mean by that is he is, answering the questions as you want. He's not arguing. He's not fighting. He's not going into a rage. He's not backpedaling. He's not any of that stuff. He's an intelligent sort of client who is behaving in sort of a dignified fashion. This is what you want in a client. And this is like kind of in some ways the exception, because there's often a lot of circumstances where you have to, where you got to kind of finesse things. So I also like his demeanor here. He's not, he's not boastful. He's not laughing. He's not smiling. He seems appropriately, his affect is appropriate for this sentence, right? So, yeah.
All right. Do you understand that your plea will have an effect upon your immigration and naturalization status as that applies to you?
I do understand, Your Honor.
Now, I
All
don't
right.
know if this
Are you
actually
satisfied
applies.
with your
I
attorney?
thought he was a U.S. citizen.
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
All right. Factual basis, please. You're on mute.
You know how often "you're on mute" is heard in courtrooms nowadays? Like, I don't think any proceeding just happens without "you're on mute" being said at least once.
Apologize. Thank you. On October 21st, 2021, Mr. Halls was the safety coordinator on the filming set for the movie Rust. As safety coordinator, I will also say Mr. Halls has over 30 years of experience. Prior to October 21st of
Now, she's clearly reading this out, and I'm going to bet that the reason why she's reading this out is I am going to bet that her and defense counsel have worked out the specific wording that is going to be read in. So sometimes you do that where you have specific wording you agree to. And I think that is, I think that's likely the case. And I see they read the immigration warning to everyone. That makes sense, right? The immigration warning would be really significant to me if I was getting, charged with something in the US, but yeah. I see lawyer, had an Elaine your mic moment today. It was obvious he was super irritated by it. Oh, Peter, it's okay. Happens to every YouTuber once or twice. It's happened to me a whole bunch of times. And yeah. Yeah, and this is a good point. No contest, no low contendere is a statement that you acknowledge that the state has facts sufficient for conviction. State still has to put the factual basis on the record. That's the same as where I am here. But I'm just saying they almost certainly have an agreement as to what the specific language is going to be.
2021, there had been 2 previous negligent discharges of firearms on that set.
Which is
A camera crew
unbelievable.
had walked off the set the day before due to safety concerns, among other issues. And there were a number of functional firearms on set. On October 21st of 2021, the crew and the actors were preparing for, I think, what we would refer to as sort of a pre-rehearsal of a scene where Mr. Baldwin has a gun and pulls his gun in a cross-draw motion. Mr. Baldwin was practicing prior to the actual rehearsal this cross-draw motion.
No, there isn't.
Ms. Gutierrez Reed, as the court knows, a charged co-defendant, initially brought the firearm
It is great.
into the church where the scene was being filmed, handed an empty, unloaded firearm to Mr. Halls. He checked it, confirmed that it was empty and unloaded. Ms. Gutierrez Reed then took the gun back and loaded the gun with what people, I think, believed were going to be dummy rounds. Dummy rounds are rounds that look like bullets, but they don't have any gunpowder in them and they don't explode. They don't create smoke. So Ms. Gutierrez Reed.
I should also note that they look superficially like live cartridges. Bullets is the wrong terminology here because the bullet refers to the projectile part of the cartridge. A cartridge is the full thing. And a dummy cartridge looks superficially like a live cartridge, except that it typically has a punched out primer. So yeah. And this one, I'm just noting, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but this is wrong. Functional firearms on set, that fact in itself should be criminal and answerable to prosecution. Just about every film you see with guns in it, the vast majority of them use functional firearms because that's how it's done. It's functional ammunition is the thing that should have been, that is just absolutely insane.
Came back into the church where the scene was being shot with the firearm. She handed it to Mr. Halls. She explained to Mr. Halls that she had loaded it with dummy rounds. Now, the protocol at this point in time is for Mr. Halls to check and confirm. He's kind of the last line of defense. So he needed to.
Which isn't entirely correct. The actor is also a line of defense in this, but
check and confirm that the rounds that were in the gun were actual dummy rounds. There is a way that there is a way to easily check and see that a round is a dummy round and not an actual live round.
Now, I did a video on this, and I actually, I brought a person who'd never fired a gun before, gave her about 2 minutes of training, like literally just here's an explanation, and blindfolded, she was able to differentiate dummies from live rounds. That was very simple to check. I have a personal suspicion, and that personal suspicion is that I suspect that he took the gun and shook the gun and heard a rattle, and therefore assumed that all of the rounds in it were dummies. The problem is, unless you actually check each round, then you don't know for certain, right? So that's the problem here. But I mean, I was able with film dummies, and I got these film dummies from an actual film armoring company, right? A company that does movies. And I was able to do a check to confirm that each of them was a dummy in less than 6 seconds. It was literally just, put it up to half cock, open the loading gate, check, 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 spin it along through. So, yeah. Nobody knows where the live rounds came from. Like, nobody knows where that is. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, when I requoted functional firearms, I meant the live rounds of working ammunition mate. And you're absolutely right. There is no reason for live ammunition to have been on this set. And quite frankly, the first time that they discovered that there was live ammunition on the set, they should have shut like that is the moment when I shut everything down and inventory, and do a full check, and possibly just throw out everything that you have and start over. It would be like if somebody broke into your house and injected cyanide into something in your fridge. You would not be like, well, I'm just going to eat dinner anyway. You would throw out all the contents of your fridge and keep going, right? It's nuts.
Halls did not check every round that was in the gun to confirm that it was a dummy round and not a live round. He then handed the gun to Mr. Baldwin, and Mr. Baldwin began to practice his cross draw. And during that action of practicing the cross draw,
They shouldn't have had
the
primers at
gun
all. They should have
went
been
off,
punched out primer pockets.
and obviously Ms. Hutchins was struck by the bullet and was killed. That is the factual basis for Mr. Hall's taking the no contest plea to the unsafe handling of a deadly weapon.
All right, thank you. Are there any exceptions to that factual basis, Ms. Taraka?
I believe, Your Honor, that that is what the state could prove or could convince a jury of, and therefore we're pleading no. Mr. Halls was pleading no contest and not guilty to that claim. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Halls, with respect to the only count in this criminal information, negligent use of a deadly weapon, unsafe handling, occurring on or about October 2021.
I like this judge. He's
in
being no
October
nonsense
21st,
here.
2021 in Santa Fe County, New Mexico. How do you wish to plead?
No contest, Your Honor.
All right. I find that there is a factual basis, and the no contest plea is accepted and entered. Anything prior to sentencing?
We would ask the court
Yeah,
to impose
exactly.
a suspended sentence. Obviously, this was a very serious incident. A young woman lost her life. There were obvious safety issues on this set before October 21st, and Mr. Halls was, as the court knows, the safety coordinator on set. For that reason, we would ask for a suspended sentence. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Taraka.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. One of the things that would be litigated.
So did you hear how long that sentencing submission was? Like, that was under a minute from the prosecution, right? As to what the sentence they want is. It's just like, he was the safety coordinator. Somebody died. We're asking for a suspended sentence. Most sentencings are like that. Most of the court is like that. It's not full day pitches and so forth. So this is really common. And I actually quite like that this is a video that we can look at that's kind of the ordinary course of courts.
If this case were to go to trial, is what is the role of the safety coordinator? And we deny that it's the role of the safety coordinator, that he is in charge of safety. If the
Now, a lot of people laughed at that line. I will just say we deny that it's the role of the safety coordinator, that he's in charge of safety. She actually makes a decent explanation of it. So let's, but I still thought that was a funny line.
people handling the firearms are negligent, he can't control how other people handle firearms. What he can do and what he was supposed to do is have safety meetings and trainings and make sure that people are aware that there are firearms on set, that there's horses on set, that people need to stay hydrated, that there's rattles like that. But he doesn't have control over how individual people handle things. And he was not the supervisor of the people who handled the firearms that did discharge. So we tend to disagree with some of those facts about what the role is.
There is that too.
Regarding the safety coordinator. Nonetheless, when Ms. Gutierrez-Reed brought the firearm
I did not catch that.
The, on set into the church, he did check the firearm. When he is checking for a firearm at that point in time, He's checking to see if there are blanks or dummy rounds in the firearm. Never in anyone's wildest dreams, never in anyone's imagination did ever anyone think that there could possibly be a live round in the firearm.
Now, I mean, she's doing a good job for her client. She's arguing for her client. The thing is that if he's checking to see if there's blanks in the gun, the thing that would have had him noticing a blank should have also had him noticing a live cartridge. So, I mean, unless I just can't envision a way that he'd be checking unless, yeah. And he checked the gun and announced it cold, and he failed to spot a live round, and he gets probation. Ultimately, why he's getting probation is because they really want one of the terms of his probation, and that is his probation includes a term that requires him to cooperate with the prosecution, or cooperate and testify on the prosecutions of Baldwin and Gutierrez Reed. He's being given a deal so that he will be a witness as against the other two. So that is that's a big part of it. I think he's getting off real light on this one. Although it doesn't actually allow for that much jail, but I would have wanted to see some jail personally for everybody involved.
Mr. Halls does not handle firearms. He does not like firearms. His job is not to handle firearms.
Except his job was to handle the firearms. I mean, if his job is not to handle the firearms, then why is he handling the firearms and why is he confirming it? Right? I have a problem with the ignorance being used as an argument here, because ultimately I'm just like, yeah, I entirely disagree with that.
And so when checking the firearm, he wouldn't have even thought that there was a live round in that gun. So in his mind, he was checking for dummy rounds or blanks. And he, like many others, is extremely traumatized and just, rattled with guilt and so many other feelings of, what could I have done better? How could I have changed things? The no contest plea, we're trying to come in early. We're trying to make things, Mr. Hall specifically said, make things easier for the family, make things easier for the co-defendants who have to be going through these same kind of feelings of, what could I have done better? How could I have handled things better? The same kind of survivor's guilt, I think, is what I would best call it.
I mean, making things better or easier for the co-defendants is a hell of a thing when he's going to be testifying. But, I mean, this whole thing about he was checking for blanks instead of the check that would have found blanks would have also found a live cartridge, right? It's just so I don't really see how this makes any sense. This is a good line. He was one of the holes in the Swiss cheese. Yeah. Yep.
And I think the biggest thing is the focus on the Hutchins family. Is Mr. Halls is like, I want to get this over with. Everybody needs to start processing and moving on. And we feel like one way that he can do that and not make this any more painful than it absolutely has to be is to come in early to address it with the court and to close his case. And in light of those circumstances and the tremendous amount of reflection that my client has for the Hutchins family and for the survivors of the Hutchins family, and then also for the director, Joel Souza.
So this is a really long-winded way of saying he's making an early guilty plea. He's sparing this person from having, or sparing the court from having to do this. And a guilty plea is mitigating, although it's not a guilty plea, it's a no contest plea. But, it's the same sort of argument here. So, yeah.
is to come in, close his case, take the consequences as they come, and let everyone move on.
I agree.
And so in light of that, we ask that you give him a deferred sentence. He's happy to do any conditions that the court would have over the next period of time. And he's happy to cooperate either with the co-defendants.
Here's the big thing, cooperating.
Or with the state, whoever needs any of his insight or testimony that might be needed as this case moves on to fruition. So, I just want to emphasize to the court, Mr. Halls is in a lot of pain and a lot of trauma. He was 3 feet from Ms. Hutchins when the firearm went off. No one expected this. This was not even foreseeable.
This is a dangerous argument, folks. I mean, I get why she's making it, but it's a dangerous argument because this is the kind of thing that can potentially set a judge off. So, yeah. I see. So he opened the revolver and thought they were blanks. Don't the cartridge butts look the same? The end of the the sort of primer end of a blank would look the same as the primer end of a live cartridge. However, if he saw a blank in there, he should have stopped everything to not only unload and whatever the firearm, but also to yell at people, right? Like that would, because he's saying that he was handed this gun, told that it's a cold gun. Cold gun means no blanks and only dummies. So yeah. And I mean, yeah, it's true though. I work on sets and I know armors, and it's basically an impossibility that this could happen. This whole thing is unprecedented. It took so many different safety failures for this to happen. So many failures for this to occur. And the number of, and this is always the case. Like when you look at Chernobyl melting down, Chernobyl didn't melt down because like one person hit the wrong switch. It was a lengthy period of people cutting corners and cutting corners. And that's the way these things tend to happen, is that as you cut corners more and more and more, you increase the risk. And eventually you get to the point where an accident becomes a near certainty. And in this case, that was what was going on. So, yeah.
And we would just implore the court to allow him the opportunity to have the deferred sentence. Thank you, Your Honor.
So he wants a deferred sentence where he would have no record.
Before sentencing?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
All right.
I don't think Mr. Halls is able to address the court, but thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, Mr.
So Mr. Halls has the ability to address the court if he wants. And as the lawyer, you almost always want your client not to do that, because your client is almost never going to talk themselves out of a bad sentence. They're almost never going to talk the sentence down, but they can absolutely screw it up. Oh, wait, I see somebody mentioning we are past 2 hours. So we gotta do the thing. It is now this time. So yes, your client isn't likely to save things. Your client is way more likely to fuck them up. And so she's doing the right thing, telling her client to, saying, hey, I don't think my client wants to talk. So, yeah.
Halls, this is going to be your sentence. I appreciate Ms. Taraco's summation of your position and what you were required to do and what you were not required to do. However, I do think that a no contest plea, unsupervised probation is certainly giving some consideration to, a lot of consideration to what Ms. Taraco was talking about with respect to your position. I'm not persuaded that a deferred sentence is appropriate for you in this case. So you are sentenced as follows. You are sentenced to 6 months of incarceration. I'm hereby suspending that and placing you on unsupervised probation. in addition to the standard conditions of unsupervised probation, are that as follows. You will agree that you will testify truthfully in all hearings, trials, or settings involving any and all defendants and co-defendants in this matter.
So literally a term of his probation is that he must testify and testify truthfully. So him snitching is straight up a term of the of this. Now she's rejected the deferred sentence, so he does end up with a criminal record out of this. Yeah, and I see, it's bad when there's a mass exodus from the set, and Alec Baldwin was criticizing them for leaving. Yeah.
You're going to pay a $500 fine. You shall participate in a firearm safety course and present proof of completion to the district attorney within 60 days of the acceptance of this plea.
Why wasn't that done way before this? Like, he doesn't like guns, he doesn't know guns, he doesn't touch guns, he doesn't anything about guns. I'm just like, I hope this really creates some shakeup as to, you should, because like everybody who's going to handle a gun should have a firearm safety course, right? Or should have some basic knowledge. And I mean, I'm going to say the Canadian firearm safety course is not sufficient for this particular aspect, because the Canadian firearm safety course doesn't include this aspect of like differentiating dummies from live cartridges from blanks, because the average hunter is never using dummies or blanks. That's not a thing to come up, but I can absolutely see that it should be, should be used there. I see, holy crap, that it's almost never an express term. It's usually a consideration for the reduced recommendation, i.e. your agreement to cooperate is being taken into consideration. Yeah, no, here it's an express term. He can go to jail if he doesn't. So, so that's a big deal there. And yeah, the armorer needed the gumption to put her foot down and lock up all the firearms when she wasn't acting as armorer. She also needed her gumption to say, we've had some, safety failures. I'm leaving the set, right? So like me and the guns are going home. I see, just FYI, Ian, I've been on some messed up sets. Once a director almost killed an assistant director by almost running him over with the RV we were using for a makeup trailer. I'm going to say that vehicle accidents are a much, if you're on a film set, you're much more likely to get killed by a vehicle than you are to get killed by a firearm. And it's not even close, right? Unfortunately, that's just sort of a thing that happens, but you got to be careful, right? And I see Baldwin handled at least one pistol in the hunt for Red October. Baldwin deserves what is coming his way. Baldwin actually boasted about his firearm knowledge. So, in his interview. So, yeah, and I see they did have training, but not adequate enough from watching the Jensen Ackles interview. Yep. So, all right.
You agree to take responsibility for your actions or
Yeah,
inactions.
you're more likely to be killed by
You
a
shall
train
obey
than a
all
gun.
federal, state,
Yep.
and local laws or ordinances. Criminal defendant, you shall not possess or use any alcohol or controlled substance without a valid prescription.
So I thought that was interesting. He's not allowed to drink. I'm wondering if they were saying that he was drinking, or if it's just a punitive aspect. But he's not allowed to drink or consume any, controlled substance without a prescription. I wonder if he's got a prescription or the like. So, yeah.
You shall complete 24 hours of community services. You shall have no contact with any potential witnesses or co-defendants in this case. All right.
So the no contact with witnesses and co-defendants is just that's just a requirement to basically say, don't talk to them because you might line up your statements, right? So, yeah.
And then the state reserves the right to withdraw this plea and prosecute any and all charges supported by probable cause if you violate the terms and conditions of this plea agreement, fail to testify at any hearing in the criminal matters, commit a new offense, fail to abide by conditions of release pending sentencing, fail to appear at any scheduled court hearings, or violate any terms and or conditions of unsupervised probation. So is there anything else, counsel, that I may have missed or that you wish to confirm on the record?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Okay, you're on mute, Ms. Taraka.
Once again, we got a mute
Thank you
moment.
very much, Your Honor. There's nothing further.
Okay. All right, Mr. Halls. Thank you. We are in recess in this case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So that's it. Just professionally handled, very straightforward, very, very simple. That's kind of what a guilty plea usually looks like. And, you know, here's the thing. He's unsupervised, so I doubt he'll ever get caught drinking if he's staying home. That's the thing. David Puff has said, you work on any movie sets, Runkle? I would love to. I may actually ask an armorer at some point if I could just come along and like help haul things or whatever, but I don't know if that's possible. I would love to do some stuff doing pyrotechnics, but I haven't at this point. The only time I've done work on a movie set, and this is kind of an interesting story, I was asked to have somebody sign a document on a movie set, but it was an let's say it was The Spice Must Flow kind of movie, as opposed to one that you will see in a conventional theater. And I know nothing about it other than I was asked to have somebody sign a document there. So, yeah, no, I haven't done anything on a movie set. I would love to at some point, but just haven't at this stage. So, all right. I see I am behind on some gifted memberships here. Robin Silver, thank you very much for the 10 gifted memberships. And Froggy Girl, thank you for the member chat. Hi, I made it a month again. Yay, I always miss you. Glad I have the internet again. I missed the Afro song. Where might I find that? If you just search for Afroman on YouTube, you will check that out. I wasn't in a porno. I was on the set of a porno. I basically had to show up and get somebody to sign a document. I will tell you that they have that particular one had a distinctive smell that, so that was my entire role, was show up, have somebody sign a document and leave. So, it was not a place I wanted to be. I will tell you that. It was kind of unpleasant overall. So, yeah, that's kind of, an interesting thing there. I see the Last of Us series was filmed in Edmonton. Maybe they'll come back. If they do that again, maybe I'll try to be, maybe I'll see if they need an extra. How did Mrs. Runkle feel about that? She just thought it was funny because, it was. I see the showing up to sign a document usually happens at the start of it. It was nothing like that. It was just like, I just had to go there, get the guy to sign a thing. That's it. I was not, I didn't sign any releases myself. I'm not in it. So, but, and I see Last of Us is setting up in Vancouver, sadly. I mean, I might fly out if I could be an extra, but what is it? I could, what do you call it? We'll see. The other thing that would be fun is if there was ever a way to be an extra on one of the Lord of the Rings thing as background elf, that would be awesome. But I don't know how to make that happen. So, I just don't see how that would go. More likely, I'm going to try to keep pushing to get my pyrotechnics done. And then maybe I could do some pyro, just as a sort of an assistant on a movie. So, I see people are dubious. All right, well, moving hastily onwards, I guess. We will do a swoop, and then I'll read some super chats here. All right. So I see, I'd love a collab with you and the Hollywood Attorney on Rust. We will definitely do a collab here on that. I've been talking with her. We'll make that happen. It would be interesting to hear her movie law knowledge with your gun law knowledge. Absolutely. How can they know what the laws say? They can't be prosecuted if they can't even read the law. Ignorance of the law is never an excuse. And, there's all sorts of policy reasons for that. But yeah. But again, I knew the armorer on season 1. I met him years ago on Twitchell's movie. Ooh, Twitchell's movie is a whole other thing. I guess we should do an episode on that. Just talk about that particular whole thing. So, yeah. I see the pay for being an extra in Utah averages $125 for the day, plus they would feed you. I wouldn't be doing it for the cash. I'd just be doing it for the experience. Amanda Shanklin, thank you very much for the YouTube membership. Much appreciated. Veronica M, thank you very much. It's much appreciated there for the $5 gift there. His lawyers did a damn good job in negotiation. They absolutely did. He could have gone to jail. So, absolutely. What is it? Ignorance of the law can't be an excuse because you can't prove what someone doesn't know. You also don't want to incentivize not knowing the law, because if you incentivize not knowing the law, then you can basically be that you're the most immune to the law ever if you're the dumbest person on the planet, and that's not a good thing. I see people asking, what is Twitchell? I guess you guys haven't heard of Mark Twitchell. So Mark Twitchell is a Canadian filmmaker who was convicted of first-degree murder because, amongst other things, he was alleged to have been sort of riffing off Dexter. And what is it? We should definitely have a chat about that. I will try to track that down. Shoot me another email. I know you sent me one once upon a time. I'm not sure I'll be able to find it, but we should definitely have a chat about that one and talk about it. But yeah, Mark Twitchell was filming a movie. He posed as a woman online, lured this guy into this kill room that he'd set up, and then killed the guy. And so then he went on the guy's email. He got into the guy's phone and basically sent people things saying that he was going to Costa Rica with this new girl. He basically told everybody that he was not going to be there, or that he was leaving. And so yeah, the police got interested, and ultimately they determined that he had committed the murder. And yeah, so I see people saying that they'd never heard of this. I guess that really horrifying crimes don't make it across the border, because yeah, that this one was a really shocking one. I guess I'll do an episode on that, talking about that one. But yeah, it was kind of horrifying. So yeah. All right, more super chats here. A year ago, we watched as you timidly read subscriber comments. You relied heavily on Rob for support. Today, this channel is fire. Everyone should have a friend like these two. Well, thank you very much. It's kind of funny because, Rob came to this after I did, but he was a big help in terms of getting me up to speed on. I don't think I'd ever done a live stream before sort of Rob had shown me the ropes a little bit there. Craziest part of the story is that weeks before he killed the guy, we shot a movie about the murder he was about to commit. In the actual kill room, I testified. Wow. That is nuts. And were you involved in this case? If I was, I wouldn't really be able to talk about it. So yeah, that is yeah. And this channel is older than Rob's. Yes. But Rob, I've learned a lot from Rob notwithstanding. Hopefully he's learned some things from me as well. But yeah. I randomly come to see Runkle, and I just want to weigh in. The set of Rust was just a masterclass of shit we do not do. And that's from KBB Studios, who's been a film armor. So, yes. Susan Feria, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Wasn't Brandon Lee killed like this on the Crow set? Kind of. Brandon Lee's circumstance was really kind of unique. And Brandon Lee's circumstances, basically they had a dummy, but the dummy... because the dummy actually has a cartridge in it, because it needs to look like the right thing, that dummy had wiggled loose and got into the chamber of into the barrel of the gun. And then later they went and put in a blank. And the problem is that the blank plus the dummy, or plus that cartridge, equals a full gunshot. So that's how that went down. And unfortunately, that was just a tragic combination of things. But it really tells us that it's very important that you must that you've got to check all this. You got to be really careful. World's Unfunniest Game Show: lawyers playing truth or dare without the dare. Ooh, that would be unfunny as heck. If the trial gets delayed more than 6 months, does he then not have to testify? I mean, they'd subpoena him and you'd have to testify anyway. So Debbie O, I've seen the no alcohol illegal substances condition in a lot of lists. I mean, I suspect that they put it on almost all the time. Rob, when did that become such a thing in the US? Is it new or just new to me? I suspect it's lots. So Aaron Hardy became a YouTube member. Much appreciated. I live in New Mexico. Lots of alcoholic issues here, and I've been an extra on 3 movies, one being shot on the same set as Rust. That is cool. And yes, I was Twitchell's cinematographer. We'll have to talk, because that would be really fascinating here. Yeah, and I see somebody saying, so sad Brendan Lee was so hot. He was a great actor. Like, if you watch The Crow, he did a fantastic job as for a breakout film. I'm sure that he would have had a tremendous career. I'm sure he would have had a tremendous career, and it's tragic. There's no other way to put it. It's just an absolute tragedy, and sort of lost everyone. All right. Let's do a little swoop here. So I've got somebody said that I need to talk about my my fundraising. So I'm doing Extra Life again this year, and they just sent me some stuff. One of the things they sent me is this. It's a little plaque. It's actually got like 2 levels to it, so it's a it's that sort of 2. This part sticks out, which is kind of neat. I actually initially didn't realize that it was intended to do that, so I thought it was 2 things, and I tried to pull it off. Don't do it. But it just says, presented to Ian. Congrats on being a top fundraiser for Extra Life in 2022. Together, we will change kids' health to change the future. And that is all you guys, because we did a tremendous job on that fundraiser. It ultimately, the only reason I wasn't in the top 5 was basically, and that's fundraisers like across the planet, was because some guys donated tremendous money to their own campaigns, because they wanted to be in the top 5 there. So, and I see somebody saying, didn't you just do it? I mean, the actual 24-hour live stream is going to be later in the year. That's going to be like September or the like. But for the fundraiser is open for right now. So that's on the go right now. They sent me a little card here as well. So I can just read it out. It says, Dear Ian, because of you and the combined efforts of our community, Extra Life raised over $11 million in 2022. Incredible. Your continued support of Children's Miracle Network hospitals helps evolve patient care, adopt new technologies, and conduct life-saving research. Thank you. We look forward to playing more games, helping more kids, and celebrating our 15th anniversary with you in 2023. Thank you, and game on. Your friends on Team Extra Life. So that was just kind of nice to get in the mail. It was a lot of fun there. I'm being told I've got to check something by Rob, so I should do that. But yeah, a total of $11 million from a charity that basically started. It basically started with gamers saying, you know, at the time, gamers were getting a very bad rap in the media. And so people basically came together to say, we're not bad people. We're going to do some fundraising. We're going to help kids. We're going to do all of that stuff. And it's turned into a really powerful charity. There's a lot of people who participate for various reasons. Some of the people I see doing these things are people who have been personally affected. One of the people who who I talk to here in Edmonton, there's people whose kids have been helped by the local hospital. There's people. I myself, I just do it because I think that that it's a good cause. But I've also mentioned that when I was a kid, I was in and out of hospital a lot. I had really serious asthma. So in fact, my first ever memory is being in an oxygen tent. And that's kind of a a rough memory, but the hospital managed to get me through that. So, and I'm here because of all that, right? So that to me, it matters. It helps a lot of people, and it's a really big, it's a big deal. So I'm going to keep at that. I think it's kind of, what do you call it? It's kind of an awesome aspect to it. So now I'm just, all right, we're going to see about pulling up this clip. I got to try to pull this up. Give me a second. We're going to do it. It's going to take me a little bit of finagling, but we'll get this clip up and running. Rob has sent me a funny clip, so we'll try to get that going. I also need to do some leather work because I'm going to try to, I need to figure out a better way to do the auctions because the auctions were kind of clumsy on Twitter, but I'm going to try to figure out a better way to do those auctions, and we will try to, I'm going to put some actual leather goods up as, handmade stuff as ways to, for sort of gifts or stuff for supporters. All right, I got to switch over my audio. Are you guys able to hear me? There we go. Testing, testing, testing. All right. Hopefully, let me know if you guys can hear this clip as well as see it, because if you can't hear it, then we will have to see. So, all right. Here is the clip. Let me know if you guys can see it. Oh, I think we need Zora's help. That's not Zora. That's the wrong thing. There's Zora. All right. All right. So let me know if you guys can hear the audio. Otherwise, we'll try again.
A fine of $1,000 and or 20 days in jail. Madam, I think that given the amount of time and energy and effort and care we spent in making that particular pronouncement, and I tell it multiple times for multiple reasons, and you decide you're going to do what you wanted to do.
It's not
pull out your phone.
what I wanted to do.
Well, you pulled out your phone and videotaped our proceedings, and that was in direct violation of this court's order. So I'm going to sentence you to 3 days of in jail, and that.
Wow, 3 days in jail for filming. I understand that this is filming jury selection. Oof. Oof.
Will otherwise satisfy your contempt. So,
So it's not gonna be the payment? I thought you said.
no, I'm not gonna fine you $1,000 because, this court, I've given this same admonition a number of times, and, there are varying reasons that that we punish people in society, okay? I'm just gonna tell you. The reasons are, one, just general, is retribution, eye for an eye. The second reason that we punish people is for general deterrence. We don't want other people doing this kind of same thing. Third reason is specific deterrence. That means we don't want you doing this again. And then it's rehabilitation and reentry. So, ma'am, in this particular situation, unfortunately, I have told several people and made several iterations of this particular notice. And
So the judge is
you
basically
videotape
saying,
our proceedings was just a brazen violation of these particular proceedings. I told you not to. If you just left your purse in your pocket, you would have not even put yourself in this particular predicament.
Right, but it was so much going on, I suffered.
That doesn't excuse your behavior. It
I
doesn't give you.
I didn't hear every.
Madam, that does not excuse your behavior, and it doesn't provide it's an excuse for behavior. Because there is no reason you couldn't have taken your phone and put it in your purse when we told you to do that, right?
Correct.
wow, okay. So basically what's going down there is a potential juror was recording part of the jury selection process, and the judge held that juror or the potential juror in contempt. And as a result, they're going to do three straight days in jail. And that's rough. I mean, but what the judge is saying there is that the reason why they're doing that at this point is general deterrence. I hope other people hear that you got that jail time so that they don't do it. And honestly, that 3 days might have been a little light. And I'm going to explain why that was possibly light. I should remove the Zora, but I like the Zora. All right, we'll pull Zora off. All right, there we go. The reason why I think that's a little light is that you might actually have to, they might actually have to redo jury selection, right? And jury selection at the end of the day is expensive. That's a day of court time, and that judge, not cheap. The defense lawyer, not cheap. The prosecutor, not cheap. All of those jurors who took a day off of their, out of their lives, those potential jurors, if you add up how many days of missed work that probably was, that's a tremendous amount, right? So I can't say that was unreasonable. In fact, it might actually be low. I see it's arguably an automatic mistrial. I wouldn't say it's a mistrial. I would say it's a do-over on jury selection. Like, we're throwing out the jury, or at least that's what it would be here in Canada. We would just say we're tossing out the entire jury selection and starting over. Yep. So that's a rough one. So that's super expensive. Filming juries is some serious shit, man. Dangerous. I mean, they're putting in orders like not to do that sort of thing. And I see taking 3 days away from them if they're a content creator is a huge punishment. Possibly. The other thing is that if they take 3 days, I mean, if she's doing this for TikTok or something, at the end of the day, she might end up ahead of the game. She'll be like doing videos going, I got thrown off a jury. Here's the clip of me, or I got thrown in jail. So it's tough. Like, why would you ever, why would you ever do that, right? It's just bizarre. I've also got people telling me that I need to pull up a gum chewing judge, so we'll do that too. All right, well, I'm just gonna share that screen. We got to once again, we need Zora's help. Zora, and then we're gonna pull this up. So people are saying we got to see the gum chewing judge.
Instructions are not given, and I ask please that you continue to not pay any attention to anything they see in the news, if you're in the news, you see there's a camera in the floor.
So I'm not seeing the gum chewing yet.
There are entities in the media that are close up and receive those. But
Okay, a little bit of chewing.
publicity, that's not evidence. Okay? Evidence is only what you receive in this world from witness stand and not what. Please don't engage in any kind of investigation to try to get information.
I'm not sure that. I mean, maybe. I'm not certain about that one. So, I can't say that I'm convinced. I see. Why is the judge facing the wall? The judge would be facing the jury. The judge is addressing the jury at that point. So, yeah. So I got paid for my half day of jury duty even before we were picked. I can't remember how much. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I see this might be a good explanation. Dentures. That could very much be the case. Or it could be somebody with nicotine gum, chew it once and squeeze it in your cheek. I thought that might be, this is kind of my vote. It might be dentures. And so I'm not going to say that this gum was, or that this judge was chewing gum. It may just be something else entirely. And if it is dentures, I mean, then she's got my sympathy because that kind of sucks. We can talk about a dumb lawyer. That might be a fun conversation, although it's a this dumb lawyer story. We're gonna have to use some code words. So bad pictures or cheese pizza, I guess, is the thing. But so we've got so in Cleveland, a lawyer went to the jail, and I can just sort of pull up here just briefly the image here. So this is from 19 News. We can see that that story here. So I'll just pull that off again. So this lawyer was going to visit their client in jail, and when their lawyer was going to visit the client, they were, one of the things you have to do when you're visiting a client in jail is you still, even though you're a lawyer, you still can't bring a lot of stuff into the jail cell. Like, hey, I'm a lawyer. I'm not allowed my phone in the jails here because this phone is super contraband, and the prisoners would absolutely steal it if they could, and would absolutely love to make phone calls. I might have a pocket knife because I've often got a pocket knife. They would not let me bring a pocket knife into the jail. They'll let me bring in a pen. They'll let me bring in paper. They won't let me bring in staples in the paper. They will, all sorts of restrictions. And those are pretty serious restrictions. So very commonly where I am, you will, you'll have to, they'll give me a locker key and I'll just go lock up my stuff. But in this place, they actually had a tray that they put on, belongings on as they were going through. So this lawyer began placing items onto the tray and then abruptly walked away from this. He was like, no, I be right back. I gotta go. And so then he went into the men's bathroom and came back out of the bathroom and was like, I'm good now. I just had to take an emergency number 2 or something. So he comes back out and is like, I'm good. Let's go through. And the deputy was like, interesting. Let's go check out what's going on there. And went into the bathroom to have a look. And this lawyer had apparently, the allegation is anyway, stashed a bag of meth in the bathroom, which is real dumb, right? I mean, let's say I was dumb enough to be a lawyer using meth, but also dumb enough to to bring it to the courthouse. And this is a couple of really big dumb things, or to the jail rather. And then he's not like, you're in the bathroom, dude. Flush the meth. Like, it just, I don't know why he didn't just flush the meth, but I guess he wanted to get it back later. Or go out to your car and like put the meth in your car where they'd at least need a warrant to search it, to look for it. So anyway, he gets arrested for having the meth that they just found in this bathroom. And then because of that, they go and get a search warrant for his phone. And the story gets worse because on the phone, they have child exploitation materials. And I actually really like that term better than the CP term, because P implies a degree of consent and acceptability that should not be applied to these things. So as a result of all of this, he was indicted on a number of charges, which include 1 count of illegal use of a minor in nudity-oriented material or performance, 1 count of drug possession, 1 count of illegal conveyance into detention facility. I don't think that they're going to make that one out. Well, maybe, because it was into the lobby. Yeah, okay, maybe. 1 count of tampering with evidence. I'm not sure if it was evidence until then, but 1 count of possessing criminal tools. That one I'm not sure on. But now I see this so much for attorney-client privilege. This is a really interesting aspect of things because just because you're a lawyer doesn't necessarily mean that you have protection from everything, right? Because I will say, like, my phone and my computer have a bunch of conversations with clients, right? It's just, that's kind of the thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that I'm just immune from a search. So if the police thought I was doing something improper, they would get a warrant for, let's say, my phone, right? And so once they get a warrant for my phone, the way that would be done would actually be that that a lawyer from the Law Society looks through all of those materials. So the police would seize the phone, and then once they seize the phone, they would not look at anything on it. That lawyer, that third-party lawyer, would go through everything and basically take everything that is privileged and not reveal it. But the rest of the information would then go on to the police. And so if there was bad stuff on the phone, that wouldn't be privileged and that would go to the police. So that's how that works. Sometimes lawyers have had like their law firms searched and so forth. And I see Mav, now I need to know if it was an attorney. I know I'm a Cleveland paralegal. The guy's name is Eric Norton. So that's the lawyer that's accused there. So yeah. EDB calls that lawyer a taint attorney. Nice. So yeah, I mean, that's how that gets done, right? So that's how that would get done. But yeah, it's important there. So Runkle is not giving any official legal advice. If you need assistance, please contact a local attorney office. I mean, it would not be a huge amount of advice to say, don't bring drugs into jails. I feel like that one is good. Now, some people have said, why would they search his phone. Well, they might have questions like here it was 5.12 grams of meth. But the questions they might have are things like, hey, is he bringing this meth in because he's addicted to meth? That's a possibility, right? Or is he bringing this meth in because he's hoping he might be able to smuggle it in to a client? That might be a possibility that they want to explore. Or that he is, delivering that on to, like if he's leaving it in the bathroom, not because he wants to pick it up later, but because somebody else is going to pick it up. And, and they're going to try to smuggle it in. So they might be trying to say, like, is this an amount of meth that he's using for personal use? Or is this an amount of meth that he is using in order to, to smuggle it into prison? Because ultimately, meth is worth a lot more if you can get it into that jail than it is on the outside. Any drug is, right? It's just that, once it crosses that thing, it's worth a lot more. And, I mean, why not just, it seems to me that the popular thing to do nowadays is like little backpacks for pigeons. But, yeah. So, here, this pouch, not a good backpack for a pigeon. Just going to say it's not a great pigeon backpack. So, yeah. All right. So this is kind of, yeah. And I see even cigarettes are worth more inside. Cigarettes are contraband inside. And so at that point, they are, at that point, they are hugely valuable on the inside. So that is a whole thing. I'm just trying to, where did I put that? Sorry, folks, I'm just poking around here as I try to find. All right, there we go. That's what I was looking for. I see Heisenberg and Jesse should have sold to prisons. I mean, I'm sure they could have done entire episodes about smuggling stuff into the prisons, right? And yeah, this is what it is. Service value of smuggling, plus the differential value of difficulty getting something into somewhere. So, yeah, it's tough. So, yeah, I think at that point, I'm just looking to see if there's something else I wanted to cover really badly today. I do want to, there are some cases I want to cover in some more detail. One of the ones I want to talk about in a little bit here is another one about some vigilantes. And I'm going to do a video on this when I can here. The video is basically that, so the story, and it's another kind of sad story. These guys were vigilantes who were trying to hunt down people who are engaged in bad things online. We'll just go with. And the bad things online. So the way these guys do it is they create fake profiles of children, and they try to lure people to a meeting, and they record the confrontation, and then they post videos online to shame the alleged people, right? Oh, yes. And this is another thing I wanted to cover. Thank you very much. So they want to shame the alleged people. And unfortunately, in this case, these guys have now gotten some serious charges, and they're each facing a count of criminal harassment, and several of them are also facing charges of intimidation, as well as charges of distributing of bad pictures. And the bad pictures thing is going to be serious, because if they end up going to jail for bad pictures offenses, they're not going to enjoy that jail sentence. So, yep, that's going to be a big deal. All right. So, I'm going to do a video on that one. I'm going to talk about it in more detail. because ultimately, I think that there's some interesting legal issues as to how they got into that trouble. So now we've got some additional details here. What is it? Paltrow, the Dr. Sanderson, and I'm just doing a little mic swap here. So he's apparently indicated, and Robert Sykes, you'll remember Sykes as the snorting lawyer, the one who is, where you can hear all of his sinuses. And I haven't yet, I've got the, I've actually got the, what do you call it? I've got the neti pot ready to go. I haven't yet done the cricket work on it. So that'll be doing at some point. But Sykes has told the court, or given a media interview, he said that he thinks errors were made that might be the basis of an appeal. And so apparently they are talking about an appeal. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think that he'd be lucky to just walk out of this with no money. If I was Sykes trying to do a good job for my client, what I'd be trying to do is I would be trying to talk to Paltrow's lawyers to say, how about we give up our right to appeal? And, in order to not have to pay attorney's fees. That to me seems like a really good way to go. But, I mean, Terry, what we've heard is that he seems to be a little obsessive, that he seems to be a little sort of locked on. And that sucks. The problem is that it's tough, right? And I see this one, if it were contingency that the lawyers would have bailed already. Yeah, I feel that that's the case. Sykes needs to have a tough conversation with Terry and tell him to let it go. I certainly would. And I mean, we don't have a ruling on the attorney's fees. The attorney's fees could crush his ability to launch an appeal, because if he doesn't have the money to do it, then where's that going to come from? But but we've seen that the guy's taking a vacation through, he's taking like a vacation every 3 days, and I exaggerate there, but he's taking a fairly regular vacation. So, maybe he's just got tons and tons of money. Maybe he's just rolling in cash. I don't know, right? So, those legal fees are likely to be super expensive. And I see Terry was saying he was sorry to have done this in the first place. Yeah, it took all of like a day or two for him to apparently change his mind on that and start talking an appeal. So it's tough. Anyway, I will probably wrap it here, largely because we're at about 3 hours and I'm starving to death because I have not eaten for most of the day, and I can tell you, Mrs. Runkle made a delicious dinner using, as I mentioned, some meat that I brought in, and I'm sitting here not eating it, but I can smell it, and it's just driving me nuts. So I will go do that. I'm also going to mention that if you haven't checked out my other channel, Roll of Law, this is a good time to do so, because I am doing a giveaway on that channel. I'm giving away 10 of these, and I don't know if you can see. These are Canadian silver maple coins. Each of these coins is an ounce at 99. So they're 4 nines purity, so 99.99 purity silver. So 10 coins up as the prize. All you got to do is solve a fairly difficult puzzle that I keep dropping hints for. So I'm going to be continuing to drop hints on that, and so as I do, we will we'll sort of see those. And I see somebody's asking what's on the reverse. The reverse is Queen Elizabeth. So you got Queen Elizabeth on the other side. So we will, go check that out if you want to participate. There have been 2 hints so far, which should have you on some, have you doing some thinking. There's going to be more videos with more hints. I've noted that those hints can be anywhere. They could theoretically be on this channel. They could be on Twitter. They could be on Discord. They could be on any of the places that I post. So all of those things are possible options for hints. Basically, it's going to be hard, and happy hunting on all of this one, because it's going to be a challenge. So I see Koru is saying, when was the last hint? The last hint was the most recent video. The entire video is the hint. And I posted that like a day or 2 ago. I see Julia saying, could they be on Friday Night Frenzy? One hasn't as of yet, but there's no reason why one couldn't. So anyway, check it out. I'm going to be doing a video soon on that channel talking about puzzles, partially just because I'm going to talk about this as part of my puzzle design discussion. So yeah. All right. So and I see Lori Lenny is, where is the actual puzzle? If you go to the Win Gimlet's Gold video, it's got a link. The actual puzzle is a 20-digit numerical code. So you got to solve 20 digits. It's going to take some figuring out. So all right. That's about that. So we will I'll let you go here, and we'll go from there. A scavengerish hunt. It's not really a scavenger hunt, but it is a tough puzzle. And make sure to read the contest rules. They are fun. I had fun writing them. So, all right. See you guys later, and have a good evening. And let me just find the outro here. Here we go. Wait, I realized one thing. I'm going to have to redo the outro because I just realized that I forgot to cover some of the super chats that came in before I went. So, Sandra Ramirez, would you consider covering the Stephen Wright case? I heard he was convicted about a week ago. I'll have to look into it. I can't say for certain. Can we get a bobblehead Runkle yelling objection? I have no idea where I'd get a bobblehead made, but it's a fun idea. Joe Lloyd, thank you very much for the YouTube membership. Much appreciated. And Alexis Williams, I'm behind, but I would sell my soul to the devil himself for the Afroman lawsuit to go to trial. I want to see Afroman testifying. I want to see him testifying. That's what I want to see. All right. So now I'm going to say goodbye for real. So bye, folks.